The Nile carried life through endless sand. Rising waters shaped destiny and survival. Villages awakened beside its ancient flow. How did one river create civilization? Here, mortal kings rose as gods. Crowns became symbols of divine rule. Power blended with myth and fear. What transformed rulers into eternal beings? Colossal monuments rose toward burning skies. Stone giants guarded secrets of eternity. Every block whispered forgotten ancient stories. Who built wonders still defying human understanding? Knowledge guided priests studying sacred stars. Mystery shaped rituals, power, and order. Wisdom carved paths through fragile kingdom. What truths hide behind this ancient wisdom? An empire awakened under desert sun. Its influence traveled far beyond border. Legends survived across centuries of change. How does it still captivate humanity? The lands of Upper and Lower Egypt, to kingdoms separated by deserts and Nile. Rulers sought harmony, peace, and unity. The people longed for a single crown. A king rose from Upper Egypt's heart. He carried visions of merging two lands. The red and white crowns became one, symbolizing power over the north and south. Ancient battles marked the path of unification. Warriors fought fiercely for Nile's fertile banks. Yet diplomacy often shaped lasting alliances. The people witnessed history in the making. Narmer, the first pharaoh of Egypt, he brought both regions under one rule. Monuments celebrated the triumph of unity. Reliefs carved his victories for eternity. The unification laid foundations of civilization. It strengthened trade and cultural exchanges widely. Temples and cities flourished along the Nile. Society began shaping traditions and law. Unified, Egypt's identity began to emerge. Shared language, religion, and governance formed. Art and culture reflected combined regional traits. The Nile remained central to everyday life. Borders were defined by strategic locations. Fortresses protected trade routes and settlements. The pharaoh's authority became divinely sanctioned. People revered him as both king and god. Religion intertwined with politics and power. Priests played roles in legitimizing leadership. Rituals symbolized the pharaoh's divine mandate. Festivals celebrated harmony across the kingdoms. Agriculture thrived under unified management systems. Irrigation projects expanded with central oversight. Grain stores stabilized populations through harsh seasons. The Nile's bounty fed both rich and poor. Craftsmen and artisans prospered from stability. They produced jewelry, pottery, and elaborate tools. Symbols of unification appeared in their works. Art became a testament to a united Egypt. The unification story echoed through generations. Every new ruler referenced Narmer's triumph. It became a cornerstone of Egyptian identity. Legends of the first pharaoh inspired loyalty. Governance evolved into organized bureaucratic systems. Officials managed taxes, construction, and justice. Records were kept on papyrus scrolls carefully. Order and structure spread across every village. The double crown became a symbol eternal. It reminded Egyptians of their shared history. Unity fostered pride and national consciousness deeply. It also marked Egypt's rise as empire. Military strength protected unified territories effectively. Skilled soldiers ensured stability along trade routes. Pharaohs maintained power with both fear and respect. Diplomacy complemented campaigns to avoid unnecessary conflict. The unification sparked innovations in art and architecture. Temples, tombs, and pyramids reflected national identity. Cultural achievements blossomed under centralized authority. Egypt became a model for future civilizations. History remembers this pivotal ancient moment. The merging of two lands was extraordinary. Egypt's greatness began with Narmer's vision. A single crown united an entire civilization. The pharaoh stood as Egypt's living god. His presence commanded respect and inspired devotion. Kings were symbols of unity and power. Their authority extended from deserts to Nile. The double crown combined red and white. It represented rule over Upper and Lower Egypt. Every subject recognized its sacred importance. It was a sign of divine kingship. Early kings led armies into foreign lands. Their victories secured borders and trade routes. They were both strategists and divine leaders. War and diplomacy defined their lasting legacies. Ceremonies emphasized the pharaoh's holy status. Priests anointed him with sacred oils carefully. Festivals celebrated kingship across every village. People witnessed rituals reinforcing power and order. The king was central in Egyptian religion. He maintained balance between earth and gods. Temples were built to honor both divinity. Art depicted the pharaoh's godlike presence clearly. Symbols surrounded kings to show eternal power. Scepters, flails, and crooks displayed authority daily. Hieroglyphs immortalized their deeds on temple walls. Legends grew with each new royal generation. Pharaohs were patrons of arts and culture. They commissioned tombs, statues, and grand palaces. Artists and scribes recorded every royal achievement. Egypt's civilization thrived under their guiding hands. The king's image appeared in villages widely. It reminded citizens of his divine mandate. Children learned respect for pharaohs from early. Statues inspired loyalty across vast desert lands. Dynasties formed as succession passed carefully. Kingship remained within established royal bloodlines. Stability depended on continuity of divine rulers. Challenges often tested loyalty and royal authority. The double crown symbolized harmony and strength. It united traditions of north and south. Pharaohs wore it during rituals and battles. It reminded Egyptians of their shared heritage. Kings mediated between humans and powerful gods. They offered prayers and sacrifices on behalf. Temples functioned as both religious and political centers. Priests supported pharaohs in divine responsibilities constantly. The role of kings shaped daily life. Farmers, artisans, and merchants obeyed royal decrees. Taxes and duties funded monumental construction projects. Centralized leadership ensured order throughout the land. Royal inscriptions celebrated accomplishments for eternity. Victory scenes adorned walls and tomb chambers. Scribes recorded both triumphs and ceremonial acts. History was written under the king's watchful eye. Pharaohs inspired myths and legends through generations. Their courage, wisdom, and divinity became timeless. Stories of early kings guided cultural identity. Symbols reinforced Egypt's unity and ancient traditions. The legacy of kings endured across centuries. The double crown remained a symbol sacred. Pharaoh's influence shaped governance and spirituality alike. Egypt's civilization flourished under their divine guidance. Symbols danced across papyrus in golden light. Hieroglyphs spoke the language of gods. Each mark carried meaning, history, and story. They transformed memory into a visible record. Early scribes recorded trade, taxes, and harvests. They documented royal decrees for all people. Ink and reed brushes created flowing lines. Knowledge began to travel across Nile settlements. Temples displayed intricate carvings of hieroglyphs. Walls narrated legends of pharaohs and gods. Priests relied on writing for sacred rituals. Symbols bridged human and divine understanding clearly. Hieroglyphs evolved from simple pictorial forms. Complex signs expressed abstract thoughts and events. They preserved stories for future generations carefully. Egypt's history became immortal through written words. Scribes trained 4 years in secret schools. Their skill made them elite and highly respected. They held power in recording and communication. Every stroke ensured accuracy and cultural continuity. Writing supported governance across the unified kingdom. Taxes, inventories, and laws were carefully recorded. Pharaohs relied on scribes to enforce authority. Centralized power grew with accurate documentation daily. Hieroglyphs decorated tombs to honor the dead. They guided souls toward the afterlife safely. Spells and prayers were inscribed for protection. Death became a journey written in sacred symbols. Knowledge spread slowly along the Nile's fertile banks. Merchants, priests, and officials shared essential messages. Hieroglyphs connected cities through trade and governance. Written records shaped Egypt's expanding civilization effectively. Art and writing intertwined in magnificent ways. Symbols adorned statues, temples, and papyrus scrolls. Each image blended beauty with precise meaning. Craftsmanship reflected devotion to gods and kings. The Rosetta Stone revealed hieroglyphs' true secrets. Languages intertwined allowed translation for modern scholars. Understanding the past became possible through these signs. Ancient knowledge opened across centuries-long divide. Hieroglyphs carried power, identity, and tradition. They reflected culture, religion, and daily life. Egyptians expressed beliefs, law, and history visually. Writing preserved society's structure and human memory. Scribes' work influenced art, architecture, and politics. Their precise skills ensured civilization's enduring record. Royal achievements and spiritual practices were immortalized. Hieroglyphs strengthened unity across Egypt's vast lands. Symbols became central to Egypt's education system. Young students learned signs from early childhood. Knowledge was passed through generations carefully preserved. The Nile witnessed writing shaping human society. Hieroglyphs told stories of kings' glorious deeds. They captured battles, diplomacy, and divine rituals. Memory became permanent, engraved on stone and papyrus. Egypt's legacy was written, visible, and eternal. This sacred language connected people to eternity. It reflected the soul of Egyptian civilization. Every symbol echoed harmony, balance, and power. Hieroglyphs immortalized a culture for all time. The Nile flowed with life-giving waters. Its annual flood renewed the fertile soil. Farmers awaited its arrival with hopeful hearts. The river dictated rhythm of every season. Rich silt spread across the farming lands. Seeds were planted in moist, nourishing earth. Crops flourished under the sun's golden rays. Wheat and barley fed kings and peasants alike. Irrigation channels guided waters to distant fields. Villages depended on precise flood timing yearly. Laborers worked together to maintain canals carefully. Community thrived through cooperation and shared effort. Floods determined planting, harvest, and storage cycles. Calendars tracked the river's rise and fall. Agriculture shaped Egypt's economy and society deeply. Life revolved around this mighty, sacred river. Pharaohs oversaw grain collection and distribution. Granaries stored surplus for drought or famine. Wealth and power flowed from successful harvests. The Nile ensured Egypt's enduring prosperity continuously. Crops supported trade with neighboring lands frequently. Surplus grains funded armies, temples, and monuments. Merchants exchanged food for luxury and goods. The river connected villages through commerce efficiently. Floods were seen as divine blessings always. Priests performed rituals to honor river gods. Hopi, god of Nile, was revered widely. Sacred ceremonies ensured fertility and seasonal harmony. Farm tools evolved with agricultural practices slowly. Plows and sickles improved harvest efficiency steadily. Farmers innovated to maximize the fertile soil. Skill and labor ensured abundance for every family. Villages grew along riverbanks with fertile lands. Homes and temples rose beside flowing waters. Nile's gift shaped architecture, society, and culture. Civilization blossomed because of its life-giving power. Seasonal floods inspired myths, legends, and stories. Songs celebrated abundance and the river's generosity. Children learned respect for water and its cycles. The Nile's rhythm became central to education. Floods determined festivals and national celebrations regularly. People gave thanks for food, life, and gods. The river united Egypt through shared dependence. Its bounty created stability across all settlements. Pharaohs' wealth relied on agricultural management efficiently. Officials oversaw fields, granaries, and labor forces. Centralized governance strengthened with reliable food supply. The Nile dictated political and social structure firmly. Irrigation allowed cultivation beyond riverbanks successfully. Farmers transformed deserts into productive lands gradually. Engineering ensured survival during low flood years. Human ingenuity harnessed nature's annual generosity wisely. The Nile's predictability of Egyptian civilization profoundly. Life, religion, and politics revolved around its cycles. Agriculture became both livelihood and spiritual connection. The river's blessings ensured survival for generations. Ancient Egypt thrived because of fertile floods. The people celebrated harvest with gratitude daily. Every field and granary depended on Nile's mercy. Its waters sustained a civilization like no other. The pharaoh ruled as Egypt's supreme leader. His word enforced law across every village. Centralized government brought stability to the kingdom. Power flowed from Nile to desert frontiers. Officials managed resources, taxes, and labor efficiently. Records were kept in temples and granaries. Scribes ensured accuracy in every royal decree. Bureaucracy strengthened Pharaoh's authority throughout Egypt. Social hierarchy defined every citizen's role clearly. Nobles and priests supported the king's decisions. Artisans and farmers contributed to the economy. Slaves performed labor under strict but organized guidance. Laws regulated property, trade, and family matters. Justice was administered by appointed magistrates carefully. Order maintained peace across cities and farmlands. Citizens respected rules as part of daily life. The pharaoh collected tribute from conquered regions. Wealth funded monuments, temples, and military campaigns. Central authority coordinated construction of massive projects. Egypt's grandeur rose through organized labor and planning. Religion reinforced governmental authority across society strongly. Priests legitimized pharaohs as gods on earth. Temples were centers of law, culture, and worship. Faith and politics intertwined in every decision. Officials supervised agriculture and irrigation systems nationwide. They ensured equitable distribution of crops efficiently. Granaries and canals sustained population through hardships. Government managed natural and human resources carefully. Military was organized under Pharaoh's direct command. Soldiers protected borders and trade routes securely. Strategic forts ensured defense across the kingdom. Power projected both fear and respect uniformly. Civic projects improved infrastructure and urban planning. Roads connected villages, temples, and administrative centers. Cities grew with markets, workshops, and housing. Centralization enabled cultural and economic development widely. Education was controlled by scribes and priests. Knowledge ensured loyalty and efficient administration deeply. Training prepared officials for governing complex systems. Literacy strengthened governance and social cohesion effectively. Taxes supported government, army, and religious institutions. People contributed to communal projects willingly and carefully. Centralized order allowed Egypt to thrive for centuries. Society prospered under structured governance and law. Hierarchy allowed mobility through talent and service. Merit occasionally elevated skilled individuals in bureaucracy. Pharaohs rewarded loyalty with land, titles, and honor. This fostered efficiency within governmental and social systems. Communication linked remote regions to the capital effectively. Messengers carried royal commands across deserts and Nile. Standardized administration created unity across vast territories. The king's reach extended into every province seamlessly. Centralized power enabled monumental constructions and culture. Pyramids, temples, and cities reflected organized society. Art, law, and religion flourished under governance. Egypt became a model for ancient civilizations. Every citizen understood their place in society. Social order maintained harmony across classes and regions. People lived, worked, and worshipped with purpose. The pharaoh's authority guided civilization toward greatness. Discover the secrets of ancient Egypt today. Explore its history, monuments, and timeless stories. Dive into the Nile civilization's wonders now. Subscribe and journey through history with us. The pharaoh ruled as Egypt's living god. His authority balanced heavens, earth, and Nile. He upheld Mat, harmony, and universal order. Justice and truth flowed from his divine hands. Mat guided every law, decree, and decision. It maintained stability across cities and farmlands. Disorder threatened life, crops, and society's balance. Pharaoh's role was crucial in preserving peace. Priests and officials reinforced Mat every day. Temples celebrated harmony through ritual and prayer. Society obeyed rules rooted in sacred balance. The king embodied both power and morality fully. Mat symbolized truth, balance, and cosmic order. It governed morality, law, and social conduct. Every act of the pharaoh reflected divine principle. Egypt's success depended on this spiritual guidance. Divine kingship connected humans to gods directly. The pharaoh served as mediator for all people. His words influenced daily life and afterlife. Egyptians worshipped him as protector and judge. Symbols of Mat appeared in temples and tombs. Feathers, scales, and images reminded citizens constantly. Art depicted pharaohs weighing truth against chaos. This ritual represented eternal cosmic balance visually. Pharaohs were both spiritual and temporal leaders. They enforced law while guiding religious ceremonies. Priests ensured rituals supported kings' divine authority. Governance and faith were inseparably intertwined closely. Mat influenced agriculture, trade, and governance decisions. Floods, harvests, and taxation required careful management. Disruption of harmony threatened survival of Egypt. Pharaohs acted to prevent chaos or famine. Divine kingship justified centralized authority strongly. Obedience to the pharaoh ensured societal stability. Every citizen understood their place in order. Royal decrees were followed as sacred obligations. Pharaohs were judged by gods after death. Eternal reward depended on upholding Mat faithfully. Monuments and inscriptions documented their just actions. Legacy was measured by balance preserved across lands. Ceremonies celebrated pharaohs' maintenance of cosmic balance. Festivals honored kings as earthly representatives of gods. Music, dance, and offerings reinforced divine leadership. Citizens participated in rituals uniting heaven and earth. Mat extended to neighboring lands and vassals. Egypt's influence spread as order and harmony expanded. Allies respected the pharaoh's divine authority fully. Tribute symbolized recognition of cosmic and earthly power. Art, architecture, and literature reflected Mat constantly. Harmony shaped every temple, tomb, and palace design. Writings praised kings for maintaining order and justice. Civilization thrived under the guiding principles of Mat. The pharaoh's word carried moral and legal weight. Decisions balanced human need with divine expectation. Every action was guided by cosmic responsibility. Egyptian life revolved around the king's sacred role. Divine kingship and Mat defined Egypt's identity. They ensured survival, prosperity, and cultural continuity. Pharaohs were symbols of both law and spirituality. Their rule intertwined heaven, earth, and human society. Nile united Upper and Lower Egypt firmly. He wore the double crown with authority. His victories marked the beginning of dynasties. Temples and monuments celebrated his divine rule. Djoser commissioned the first step pyramid proudly. Imhotep, his architect, transformed stone into eternity. The step pyramid symbolized royal power and innovation. It changed burial practices across ancient Egypt forever. Hatshepsut ruled as one of few female pharaohs. She expanded trade, monuments, and Egypt's influence. Her mortuary temple rose from cliffside dramatically. Art celebrated her reign with divine imagery. Akhenaten introduced religious revolution and monotheism boldly. He worshipped Aten, the sun disk, exclusively. Amarna art depicted him in unique stylized ways. Change caused tension with priests and traditional temples. Narmer's legacy symbolized unification and authority eternally. He set the foundation for pharaohs to follow. His triumphs echoed in hieroglyphs and stone reliefs. Egypt's identity emerged under his visionary leadership. Djoser strengthened centralized government and public works. Monuments inspired and demonstrated royal legitimacy. His architectural achievements influenced generations of pharaohs. Stone became a symbol of permanence and order. Hatshepsut focused on diplomacy, trade, and stability. She sent expeditions to hunt for exotic wealth. Egypt prospered under her careful, strategic rule. Her reign was marked by prosperity and art. Akhenaten challenged tradition and centralized religion creatively. He built a new capital called Akhetaten. Art and culture transformed under his radical ideas. Legacy was complex, blending innovation and controversy deeply. Narmer's victories united diverse peoples under one crown. He balanced north and south with careful governance. His reign demonstrated power, wisdom, and divine favor. Egypt entered its first era of dynastic glory. Djoser's step pyramid inspired future monumental construction. Pharaohs of later dynasties emulated his designs. Stone architecture reflected Egypt's enduring cultural ambitions. Royal tombs became symbols of eternal kingship. Hatshepsut's rule strengthened Egypt's international reputation greatly. Trade routes flourished under her organized administration. Her monuments emphasized divine legitimacy and cultural pride. She left a lasting mark on Egyptian history. Akhenaten's reforms reshaped religious thought permanently. Worship of Aten changed art and theology. Though controversial, his vision influenced successors subtly. Religion, culture, and art bore his unique signature. Narmer, Djoser, Hatshepsut, and Akhenaten taught leadership. Each ruler left lessons in power, innovation, and faith. Their legacies intertwined with Egypt's eternal identity. Pharaohs shaped the civilization through courage and vision. Royal inscriptions celebrated deeds for eternity carefully. Every monument reflected the ruler's divine authority. History preserved their names across generations faithfully. Legacy was cemented in stone, art, and papyrus. Famous rulers inspired myths, legends, and culture widely. Stories of triumph and wisdom guided Egyptian people. Pharaohs became symbols of eternal governance and divinity. Their reigns defined Egypt's golden and sacred eras. The royal court was a center of power. Nobles, officials, and priests gathered closely around. Every decision flowed from the pharaoh's word. Loyalty and influence determined one's place carefully. Viziers acted as the king's trusted advisors. They oversaw administration, law, and public works. Their guidance ensured smooth governance across Egypt. Powerful yet subordinate, they served divine authority fully. Officials managed taxes, labor, and agriculture efficiently. Scribes recorded every decree and economic transaction. Communication extended the king's control to provinces. Centralized administration connected capital to distant settlements. Nobles held land and served in military campaigns. Their wealth reinforced loyalty to the throne faithfully. Titles and privileges secured hierarchy and order firmly. Royal favor determined social status and influence directly. Priests reinforced the king's authority through religion. Temples served as both spiritual and administrative centers. Rituals legitimized the pharaoh's divine mandate publicly. Faith intertwined with governance in every aspect fully. Women of the court influenced politics and diplomacy. Queens and royal daughters acted as advisors discreetly. Marriage alliances strengthened bonds with powerful families. Royal family maintained harmony and succession through networks. Artisans, musicians, and entertainers served courtly culture. They celebrated the pharaoh through performance and creativity. Cultural achievements reflected both wealth and divine favor. Royal courts shaped taste, education, and societal values. Military leaders advised on strategy and security constantly. They protected borders and maintained order in provinces. Kings relied on commanders for campaigns and defense. Military strength reinforced the court's political authority clearly. Messengers carried commands to distant lands efficiently. Administration depended on speed and accuracy of information. Courtiers coordinated projects, ceremonies, and construction tasks. The pharaoh's reach extended through organized networks successfully. Judges and magistrates administered laws on behalf. Justice reinforced the king's will across the kingdom. Local disputes were reported up to officials carefully. Law and order maintained societal balance and treasurers and grain officials managed Egypt's wealth. Resources funded temples, armies, and monumental projects. Efficient record-keeping strengthened central authority reliably. Economy and power were inseparable at every level. Court life was ceremonial, hierarchical, and ritualized. Every action displayed loyalty and reinforced authority visually. Banquets, ceremonies, and processions honored Pharaoh daily. The court symbolized both divine and earthly power. Spies and diplomats extended influence beyond borders. Royal intelligence safeguarded Egypt from internal threats. Alliances and information maintained political stability carefully. Power projection depended on both force and diplomacy. Royal courts inspired culture across Egypt widely. Literature, art, and architecture reflected courtly life. Cultural trends spread from palace to common people. The pharaoh's vision guided society's intellectual growth. Hierarchy ensured stability, order, and clear governance. Every individual understood duties, rank, and responsibilities. Power flowed from king through structured channels. Centralized authority maintained Egypt's prosperity for centuries. The pharaoh acted as Egypt's divine mediator. He connected gods with humans across the land. Rituals ensured harmony between heaven and earth. Every ceremony reinforced and cosmic order. Priests assisted in sacred temple ceremonies daily. They guided offerings, prayers, and holy chants. The king performed rituals to honor gods. Spiritual duties legitimized his authority permanently. Pharaohs offered sacrifices for fertile lands annually. Floods, harvests, and prosperity relied on rituals. Gods were pleased through precise ceremonial acts. Egypt's survival depended on divine communication consistently. Festivals celebrated gods and pharaohs' sacred role. People gathered to witness rituals and processions. Music, incense, and chants filled temple spaces. Ceremonies united community with divine presence deeply. Oracles advised kings on decisions carefully and wisely. The pharaoh interpreted signs from gods directly. Guidance shaped politics, military campaigns, and law. Divine counsel influenced every major royal choice. The king's image embodied divine power visually. Statues and reliefs depicted him with gods. Art emphasized his role as eternal mediator. Symbols reinforced his connection between earth and heaven. Pharaohs maintained temples across Egypt faithfully. They funded priests, rituals, and sacred monuments. Temples were centers of religion, culture, and governance. Every city celebrated godly presence through royal patronage. Religious duties extended to the afterlife deeply. Kings ensured proper burial and funerary rituals. Tombs contained texts and spells for eternity. Preparation guaranteed safe journey to the next world. Priests chronicled rituals in hieroglyphic inscriptions carefully. Sacred knowledge was preserved for future generations. The pharaoh's actions maintained spiritual and temporal order. Records celebrated divine communication and royal power. Daily prayers reinforced harmony between people and gods. Pharaoh-led ceremonies during important agricultural seasons. God's favor ensured wealth, peace, and health. Religious service was central to kingship responsibilities. Divine kingship strengthened loyalty among citizens effectively. Worship of gods reinforced obedience to Pharaoh. Faith legitimized centralized authority across all regions. Spiritual connection was inseparable from political power. The pharaoh mediated festivals honoring major deities. Ra, Osiris, Isis, and other gods celebrated widely. Processions demonstrated cosmic balance and royal piety. Citizens witnessed power and faith combined spectacularly. Religious reforms occasionally reshaped traditional practices boldly. Kings like Akhenaten emphasized monotheism for Aten. Innovation stirred devotion, controversy, and cultural change. Faith evolved under the pharaoh's sacred guidance. The king's divine role influenced culture strongly. Religion shaped laws, art, and architecture widely. Society aligned with spiritual principles and royal vision. Harmony between gods and humans ensured civilization thrived. Pharaohs were guardians of Egypt's sacred order. They preserved rituals, festivals, and temple traditions. Divine duties connected every citizen to eternity. Kingship was both temporal and heavenly responsibility fully. Pharaohs shaped culture across all of Egypt. Art, literature, and music flourished under kings. Every city reflected royal taste and vision. Cultural identity was guided by Pharaoh's influence. Monuments and temples displayed architectural innovation boldly. Stone structures reached skyward in sacred tribute. Pyramids symbolized power, eternity, and divine presence. Royal tombs reflected both faith and ingenuity. Artists and craftsmen thrived under royal patronage. They painted murals, sculpted statues, and carved hieroglyphs. Skill and creativity honored kings and gods alike. Culture was intertwined with political and spiritual life. Pharaohs commissioned temples for worship and community. Massive constructions demonstrated power and centralized organization. Workers, engineers, and architects executed royal visions. Projects reinforced authority and inspired generations of citizens. Warfare was organized under Pharaoh's supreme command. Military strategies protected Egypt from foreign invaders. Armies defended borders and maintained internal stability. Victory reinforced the king's divine and earthly power. Pharaohs influenced fashion, art, and social customs. Court life set trends for elite and commoners. Symbols, jewelry, and clothing reflected royal decrees. Every citizen mirrored the king's cultural guidance. Construction of fortresses and walls showcased military foresight. Defense projects strengthened Egypt's borders and trade routes. Engineering combined practical and symbolic purposes effectively. Architecture communicated strength, security, and royal authority. Religious monuments inspired devotion and artistic achievement. Temples were canvases for stories of gods and kings. Artistic expression reflected divine guidance and state ideology. Egypt's culture flourished under Pharaoh's patronage fully. Pharaohs initiated trade expeditions that enriched Egypt. Cultural exchange influenced art, religion, and architecture. Foreign goods inspired new artistic and practical techniques. Kings guided innovation through both diplomacy and conquest. Military campaigns expanded Egypt's influence abroad significantly. Conquered territories paid tribute and strengthened central power. Pharaohs maintained disciplined armies under royal supervision. Victories were immortalized in inscriptions and monuments. Royal decrees encouraged education and craftsmanship across society. Scribes, builders, and artisans upheld the king's vision. Knowledge spread through temples, schools, and workshops. Culture and skill became tools of political power. Pharaohs' architectural achievements symbolized eternal kingship profoundly. Obelisks, statues, and pyramids honored gods and rulers. Every structure reinforced divine authority and cultural identity. Monuments ensured memory of kings lasted for eternity. Artistic styles evolved under each pharaoh's influence. Reliefs depicted daily life, myths, and royal deeds. Sculpture and painting conveyed both beauty and ideology. Egyptian culture became recognizable across centuries and lands. Warfare and diplomacy reinforced cultural and architectural development. Victories funded monuments and inspired artistic expression. Military strength protected prosperity and sacred sites. Kings balanced force and cultural advancement strategically. Pharaohs left legacies in every aspect of life. Culture, architecture, and warfare reflected royal vision. Their influence shaped Egypt for millennia permanently. Civilization thrived under their guidance, creativity, and power. The Step Pyramid rose from desert sands. Djoser's tomb symbolized Egypt's architectural breakthrough. Imhotep designed layers reaching toward the sky. Stone transformed into eternal royal monument carefully. Innovative use of columns supported massive structures. Each layer reflected careful planning and precision. Design inspired future pyramids across the kingdom. Engineering skills advanced with every stone placed. The complex included temples, courts, and walls. Sacred spaces honored gods and pharaoh equally. Art and reliefs decorated ceremonial areas richly. Symbolism merged architecture with spiritual purpose deeply. Laborers and craftsmen worked tirelessly on site. Cooperation, skill, and organization ensured steady progress. Thousands contributed to creation of lasting legacy. Human effort matched divine inspiration. Through meticulous planning, Step Pyramid marked a shift from mastobas. Old tomb designs evolved into vertical grandeur. Innovation represented Pharaoh's power and divine guidance. Egyptian civilization embraced monumental construction boldly. Reliefs depicted royal achievements and religious devotion. Hieroglyphs celebrated victories, offerings, and sacred rituals. Art preserved history on walls of eternity. Culture and faith intertwined in stone and symbolism. The pyramid complex demonstrated early engineering ingenuity. Ramps, levers, and manpower moved massive limestone blocks. Techniques perfected would influence generations of builders. Innovation bridged human creativity with sacred ambition. Step Pyramid symbolized Pharaoh's connection with gods. Every stone reflected eternal life and divine authority. Mortuary rituals reinforced spiritual and political power. Construction was a sacred act of devotion. Imhotep became legendary as architect and priest. His knowledge influenced medicine, architecture, and culture. Step Pyramid inspired awe across Nile settlements. Innovation marked the beginning of monumental legacy. The structure aligned with celestial and cardinal points. Astronomy influenced design and sacred orientation precisely. Cosmic order reflected matter in architectural form. Divine harmony guided the pharaoh's eternal resting place. Temples and courtyards surrounded the pyramid carefully. Rituals honored gods and pharaoh's spirit alike. Complex served both functional and spiritual purposes. Sacred ceremonies ensured eternal life for kings. Step Pyramid demonstrated Egypt's administrative coordination effectively. Resource management, labor organization, and planning succeeded. Royal authority orchestrated monumental achievements smoothly. Society witnessed unity in purpose and effort collectively. The monument symbolized human ingenuity meeting divine ambition. Layers rose skyward as testaments to eternity. Art, religion, and architecture merged in harmony. Step Pyramid marked Egypt's first grand pyramid. Innovation inspired later pharaohs' monumental projects greatly. Snefru, Khufu, and successors expanded design boldly. Step pyramid remained model for architectural mastery. Legacy echoed through centuries of pyramid construction. Monument stood as symbol of Pharaoh's eternal power. It preserved history, faith, and culture visually. Stone layers told story of divine kingship. Saqqara Step Pyramid achieved immortality in stone. The Great Pyramid towers above desert sands. Khufu's tomb embodies ancient engineering brilliance clearly. Millions of limestone blocks formed its massive structure. Its scale continues to baffle modern researchers endlessly. Precise alignment with cardinal points amazed all. Astronomical calculations guided construction and orientation carefully. Architecture reflected harmony between human skill and cosmos. Every stone echoed the pharaoh's divine authority. Ramps and levers moved massive blocks with ingenuity. Laborers worked tirelessly under sun and sand. Coordination of thousands required planning and leadership. The construction reflected extraordinary organization and vision. Interior chambers hidden within massive stone walls. King's burial room held treasures and sacred artifacts. Passages designed to protect against tomb robbers. Mystery-shrouded entrances, corridors, and hidden chambers. Mathematics guided proportions, angles, and symmetry perfectly. Engineering knowledge surpassed expectations of ancient civilization. Tools were simple, yet results were monumental. Innovation transformed limestone into eternal legacy faithfully. The pyramid symbolizes Pharaoh's journey to afterlife. Spiritual beliefs guided every architectural decision carefully. It reflected math, order, and divine connection. Sacred geometry aligned with cosmic and religious ideals. Laborers organized into skilled and unskilled teams. Village life supported workers with food and shelter. Society united under Monumental, shared purpose greatly. Construction strengthened administrative and logistical systems effectively. Khufu's pyramid became symbol of centralized power. Royal authority manifested in stone and scale. It impressed both citizens and neighboring nations. Egypt's greatness was visible across desert horizons. Construction techniques remain debated by modern scholars today. Internal ramps, external ramps, all levers are proposed. Every hypothesis highlights ancient ingenuity and determination. Mystery fuels fascination across millennia of study. Alignment with stars, solstices, and constellations precise. Celestial guidance influenced placement, shape, and orientation. The pyramid connected Earth to heavens visually. It embodied cosmic and spiritual significance entirely. Granite from Aswan carried hundreds of miles carefully. Labor and innovation overcame geographic and technical challenges. Pyramids reflected mastery of logistics, manpower, and knowledge. Engineering transcended tools, time, and natural obstacles. Monuments stood as eternal testament to Pharaoh's rule. Great Pyramid preserved culture, faith, and Egyptian identity. It remains one of the seven wonders. Human achievement blended with divine ambition perfectly. Legends and myths grew around its construction mysteries. Stories of supernatural aid and colossal effort persisted. The pyramid inspired awe across history and generations. Its secrets endure, defying understanding and imagination. Art, architecture, and religion converged in stone. The monument showcased skill, faith, and power. Every block reflected careful planning and devotion. The Great Pyramid stands eternal above Nile civilization. Temples rose along the Nile's sacred banks. Luxor, Karnak, and Abu Simbel inspired awe. Colossal columns reached skyward, carved with symbols. Stone echoed devotion to gods and kings. Karnak Temple was a city of monuments. Hypo-style halls stretched endlessly, with carved ceilings. Pharaohs added pylons, obelisks, and sacred statues. Art and architecture celebrated divine authority repeatedly. Luxor Temple honored kings and religious ceremonies. Processional avenues connected with grand statues of pharaohs. Rituals reinforced math and cosmic harmony daily. Citizens witnessed grandeur and divine connection clearly. Abu Simbel impressed with massive rock-cut temples. Ramses to commission statues carved from cliffs. Alignment captured sun's rays twice yearly perfectly. Monument blended power, devotion, and astronomy precisely. Temples functioned as both spiritual and political centers. Priests maintained rituals, while pharaohs gained legitimacy. Sacred spaces reinforced centralized authority effectively. Religion and governance intertwined across every temple complex. Columns, obelisks, and walls told ancient stories. Hieroglyphs recorded victories, myths, and divine rituals. Art immortalized kings, gods, and celestial events. Every carving reflected culture, faith, and power deeply. Festivals brought citizens to temples in celebration. Music, incense, and offerings honored gods faithfully. Processions symbolized connection between heaven and earth. Rituals united people under Pharaoh's sacred authority. Construction showcased advanced engineering and craftsmanship widely. Massive stones quarried, transported, and carved carefully. Laborers worked in precise organization and coordination. Architecture reflected innovation, devotion, and royal ambition. Temples inspired or among visitors and foreign envoys. Grand entrances and statues projected power unmistakably. Monuments communicated cultural identity and Pharaoh's supremacy. Egypt's glory was visible through these sacred spaces. Sculptures depicted gods, pharaohs, and mythical beings. Art conveyed both beauty and religious symbolism clearly. Columns illustrated celestial order and divine hierarchy. Architecture merged spirituality with visual storytelling flawlessly. Abu Simbel's twin temples told stories of devotion. Ramses honored gods and his own eternal legacy. Sunlight illuminated statues with divine precision annually. Engineering, astronomy, and religion blended seamlessly here. Temples served as centers for education and culture. Priests taught writing, rituals, and astronomy carefully. Knowledge spread through sacred spaces, inspiring generations. Religion, art, and learning intertwined in temples. Karnak's great hypostyle hall amazed with scale. 134 massive columns carved with stories of eternity. Artisans recorded Pharaoh's victories in intricate detail. Architecture reflected devotion, authority, and human ingenuity. Luxor Temple's processional path connected sacred spaces. Statues, obelisks, and walls guided ceremonial rituals. Alignment honored gods and kings equally carefully. Temple design reflected Egypt's religious and cultural order. These temples preserved faith, culture, and history. Monuments symbolized divine kingship and cosmic order. Architecture immortalized Egypt's devotion across millennia. Stone and art captured eternal Egyptian civilization. Hieroglyphs adorned every face with sacred messages. Stories of victories, offerings, and divine connection. Inscriptions recorded achievements for eternity in stone. Art and text merged to preserve history carefully. Obelisks marked temple entrances, sacred spaces, and plazas. They guided processions and ritual celebrations faithfully. Massive structures inspired awe in citizens and visitors. Stone reflected skill, devotion, and royal ambition. Ramses too erected obelisks at Luxor proudly. Their inscriptions immortalized his victories and legacy. Sunlight illuminated carvings, emphasizing divine alignment. Architecture conveyed both power and sacred purpose visually. Pharaohs used inscriptions to assert authority widely. Words praised gods, military triumphs, and lineage proudly. Text reinforced legitimacy of divine kingship continuously. Stone became a permanent record of human ambition. Obelisks traveled across Egypt for symbolic importance. Some were relocated to distant temples carefully. Craftsmanship reflected engineering mastery and artistic brilliance. Monuments celebrated culture, faith, and centralized power effectively. Hieroglyphs recorded laws, treaties, and religious decrees. Scribes ensured messages were accurate for generations. Stone preserved society's structure, achievements, and beliefs. Inscriptions linked pharaoh, gods, and Egyptian people. Temples and squares displayed monumental writing prominently. Citizens, officials, and visitors read divine proclamations. Messages reinforced cosmic order, authority, and math. Culture and governance intertwined through carved words visibly. Obelisks symbolized eternal connection between heaven and earth. Their height reached toward the sun god's domain. Divine rays illuminated sacred inscriptions precisely annually. Monuments embodied pharaohs' celestial and earthly power perfectly. Engineering moved massive stones with precise coordination. Transport across Nile required skill, planning, and manpower. Alignment and positioning reflected architectural and astronomical knowledge. Obelisks stood as testaments to human ingenuity permanently. Inscriptions celebrated pharaoh's life, victories, and faith. They guided citizens in devotion and obedience consistently. Every carved symbol reinforced culture, history, and religion. Messages preserved memory for future generations faithfully. Monuments inspired awe across Egypt and beyond. Foreign emissaries marveled at scale and artistry. Obelisks communicated Egypt's power and cultural sophistication. Stone became a silent ambassador of Pharaoh's authority. Every inscription told story of kings and gods. Text immortalized achievements, triumphs, and sacred rituals. Carvings recorded divine guidance and mortal accomplishments equally. Obelisks connected past, present, and eternity visually. These monumental symbols reflected religion, governance, and art. Culture, faith, and power merged in stone. Pharaohs immortalized themselves through architecture and inscriptions. Obelisks stood as eternal markers of Egyptian civilization. Monuments reflected belief in life after death. Pyramids symbolized journey to eternal divine realm. Architecture expressed faith, order, and cosmic harmony. Sacred structures linked pharaohs with gods eternally. Temples honored gods through rituals and offerings daily. Colossal statues reminded people of divine authority. Art depicted myths, rituals, and sacred stories. Every structure served spiritual and political purposes equally. Obelisks represented the sun, Ra, and cosmic order. Height symbolized connection between earth and heavens. Carvings ensured the gods' favor and protection. Stone reflected eternal principles guiding Egyptian society. Sacred geometry aligned structures with stars precisely. Astronomy influenced placement, orientation, and design carefully. Cosmic order mirrored math in physical form. Architecture expressed universal balance, law, and spirituality profoundly. Funerary monuments preserved pharaohs' souls after death. Tombs and pyramids held treasures, offerings, and texts. Preparation ensured immortality through divine protection and magic. Belief in afterlife guided monumental construction extensively. Reliefs and inscriptions reinforced religion and morality consistently. Kings' achievements recorded alongside God's blessings permanently. Culture, faith, and governance intertwined through sacred text. Every carving reflected ethical, spiritual, and cosmic ideals. Monuments inspired awe, devotion, and societal unity widely. Citizens participated in festivals honoring gods and kings. Architecture encouraged piety and collective spiritual identity. Sacred spaces fostered connection between humans and divine. Pharaohs embodied divine authority in life visibly. Structures symbolized their power, wisdom, and piety. Every stone reflected eternal order and cosmic balance. Kings ensured math through construction and ritual carefully. Temples and pyramids expressed Egyptian worldview profoundly. Life, death, and the cosmos shaped design intentionally. Art and architecture were tools of religious expression. Monuments communicated beliefs across generations and lands effectively. Obelisks, pyramids, and temples represented societal priorities clearly. Faith, order, power, and eternal life dominated Egyptian thought. Human skill merged with divine guidance and ritual. Structures preserved collective memory and spiritual devotion endlessly. Religious symbolism permeated every architectural and artistic choice. Alignment, scale, and inscriptions reflected sacred philosophy. The king's role bridged mortal and divine worlds. Monuments became both spiritual and political instruments successfully. Beliefs shaped culture, governance, and societal hierarchy permanently. Monuments demonstrated devotion, authority, and communal identity. They immortalized faith and reflected universal cosmic principles. Every structure communicated divine favor, and order. The Nile, monuments, and temples guided spiritual life. Faith dictated daily practice, governance, and ritual consistently. Civilization thrived because belief structured society fundamentally. Sacred architecture was living expression of Egyptian worldview. Architecture reflected eternal principles of harmony, balance, and justice. Monuments preserved memory, morality, and divine connection fully. Every pyramid, temple, and obelisk conveyed sacred significance. Structures ensured gods, pharaohs, and people remained united. Egyptian structures symbolized civilization's soul and beliefs. They revealed devotion, ambition, and understanding of cosmos. Faith and human skill intertwined in stone eternally. Monuments spoke across millennia about culture and eternity. Ra soared across the sky as sun god. His light brought life to every living creature. Pharaohs claimed guidance from Ri's divine power. Sunrise and sunset symbolized eternal cosmic cycle daily. Osiris ruled over the kingdom of the dead. He judged souls for their deeds after death. Green skin symbolized rebirth, renewal, and eternal life. Rituals honored him to ensure proper passage safely. Isis, goddess of magic, motherhood, and protection. She healed, guided, and aided both gods and humans. Her devotion to Osiris reflected loyalty and love. Magic and wisdom preserved cosmic balance across Egypt. Anubis guided souls through the afterlife carefully. Jackal-headed deity oversaw embalming and tomb protection. Priests invoked him during funerary rituals regularly. He ensured Kor and Ba reached safe eternity. Ra's daily journey mirrored life, death, and renewal. His boat sailed across the sky and underworld. Celestial movement represented eternal order and divine oversight. Kings invoked Ra's power to legitimize their reign. Osiris embodied resurrection and the promise of afterlife. Pharaohs aspired to join him beyond mortal death. Temples celebrated his myths with ceremonies and art. Stories reinforced morality, justice, and eternal order deeply. Isis symbolized protection, fertility, and ritual magic. Her influence touched every aspect of daily life. Priests honored her with spells, songs, and offerings. Magic ensured harmony between humans and divine powers. Anubis oversaw embalming and funerary preparations carefully. Priests wore masks and recited sacred texts precisely. Soul's journey required proper ritual and guidance. Divine protection safeguarded the deceased from chaos eternally. Ra, Osiris, Isis, and Anubis shaped society. Religion governed morality, law, and cultural identity. Every citizen revered gods through offerings and rituals. Faith guided life, governance, and spiritual understanding consistently. Pharaohs embodied God's authority on earth visibly. They mediated between human and divine worlds permanently. Public rituals honored gods and ensured cosmic balance. Society understood kingship as divine and sacred inherently. Temples served as homes for gods and priests. Sacred spaces housed statues, shrines, and ritual implements. Citizens approached temples for blessings, guidance, and worship. Architecture reflected divine grandeur and cultural sophistication deeply. Art depicted gods in human and animal forms. Symbolism communicated their roles, powers, and relationships. Stories preserved myths of creation, life, and afterlife. Every depiction reinforced faith, morality, and divine order. Priests taught myths, rituals, and ethical guidance. Knowledge passed through generations ensured societal continuity. Faith shaped laws, ceremonies, and community obligations strongly. Divine stories guided both kings and common people. Festivals honored Ri's son, Osiris' resurrection, Isis' protection. Anubis' guidance was remembered during funerary processions. People participated in rituals expressing devotion and belief. Religion structured society, time, and spiritual practice consistently. Egyptians believed gods influenced every natural phenomenon. Floods, crops, and celestial events reflected divine will. Prayer, offering, and ritual maintained harmony and prosperity. Faith connected human effort with cosmic order eternally. Every person possessed a core, and bar.car represented life force, energy, and spirit. It stayed near the body after death. Offerings nourished the core to sustain eternity. Bar symbolized personality, mobility, and soul essence. It could travel between worlds after death. Bar reunited with core to achieve eternal life. Spiritual harmony ensured peace in the afterlife fully. Pharaoh's car was divine and immensely powerful. It connected them with gods during mortal life. People offered food, incense, and prayers for Ka. Life force depended on rituals and devotion constantly. Bar expressed individuality and unique human characteristics. It visited tombs, temples, and living descendants frequently. Art and text depicted Boar as human-headed bird, symbolized freedom and mobility between earthly and spiritual realms. Mummification preserved body, Fuka's continued existence. Proper rituals ensured Core and Ba could reunite. The journey to eternity depended on spiritual preparation. Harmony between components guaranteed immortality and divine favor. Priests performed rites to sustain Core daily. Offerings, chants, and incense nourished life force effectively. Feasts in tombs maintained energy of deceased continually. Spiritual care preserved cosmic balance for society collectively. Ba returned to Core at night carefully. This reunion allowed safe passage through Duat. Soul's journey required proper knowledge and ritual. Guidance ensured eternal life in afterworld successfully. Depictions in tombs symbolized Core and Ba vividly. Hieroglyphs, statues, and art reflected spiritual beliefs. Symbols reminded living and dead of sacred harmony. Faith guided understanding of life and afterlife clearly. Pharaohs Ka joined Ra in divine realm eternally. Royal Ba traveled through heavens and underworld safely. Divine kingship ensured immortal presence and protection. Spiritual components maintained cosmic and earthly order fully. Ka influenced daily practices and offerings significantly. Families and priests maintained rituals for survival spiritually. Bread, wine, and incense nourished life force eternally. Spiritual maintenance was central to Egyptian cultural identity. Ba allowed deceased to interact with living community. Ghostly presence reinforced continuity, family, and society. Spiritual travel ensured protection, guidance, and blessings. Individual essence persisted beyond mortal boundaries and time. Understanding Core and Ba shaped Egyptian burial practices. Tombs, coffins, and funerary goods preserved essence. Every object served life force and soul purpose. Preparation ensured successful transition to eternal existence fully. Knowledge of Core and Ba influenced Egyptian worldview. Life, death, and cosmos were interconnected constantly. Spiritual components guided morality, governance, and ritual. Faith in afterlife shaped culture and architecture. Balance between core, bore, and gods ensured peace. Disruption could bring misfortune, chaos, and spiritual unrest. Proper rituals guaranteed harmony for pharaohs and citizens. Spiritual belief maintained cosmic, societal, and personal order. Mummification preserved bodies for eternal life. Pharaohs and nobles remained prepared with care. Embalming rituals ensured core and ba could reunite. Preservation was essential for a journey beyond death. Priests removed organs carefully, preserving sacred parts. Heart, lungs, liver, and stomach treated separately. Canopic jars held vital organs safely. Spiritual and practical needs guided every procedure. Body was cleansed, anointed, and wrapped meticulously. Linen bandages protected flesh for afterlife journey. Amulets placed between layers offered divine protection. Magic spells safeguarded soul during eternal travel. Funerary rituals guided soul through do it safely. Ceremonies invoked gods to aid the deceased. Prayers and chants ensured spiritual passage correctly. Knowledge of rituals guaranteed survival in next world. Tombs were stocked with food, treasures, and goods. Supplies sustained core and ba for eternity. Objects reflected social status, occupation, and personality. Every item had spiritual and practical purpose carefully. Opening of the mouth, ritual restored senses. Soul could see, speak, and eat in afterlife. Priests performed ceremonies to animate the mummy fully. Magic ensured functional, eternal existence beyond mortal realm. Sarcophagi were decorated with hieroglyphs and protective symbols. Texts offered guidance, spells, and divine instructions clearly. Art reflected faith, cultural values, and cosmic beliefs. Monuments preserved memory and identity of the deceased. Journey involved trials, judgment, and divine scrutiny. Heart was weighed against the feather of mat. Truth and morality determined access to eternal life. Egyptians believed ethical living ensured spiritual reward. Pharaohs' tombs were elaborate with monumental architecture. Pyramids and hidden chambers protected sacred remains securely. Engineering and artistry combined to honor eternal kings. Monuments reflected both devotion and political authority visibly. Mummification reflected beliefs about immortality and resurrection. Soul survival depended on rituals, preservation, and offerings. Every step reinforced cosmic and social order. Spiritual care connected human, divine, and natural realms. Amulets, charms, and inscriptions offered magical protection. They guided and shielded soul from supernatural dangers. Magic ensured harmony between mortal and eternal planes. Faith made journey to afterlife achievable and safe. Processions, priests, and families celebrated funerary rites. Community participation reinforced beliefs and cultural cohesion. Rituals strengthened social structure and spiritual identity. Death was transition, not end, for Egyptians fully. After burial, offerings nourished core and ba regularly. Food, drink, and prayers maintained spiritual existence permanently. Connection between living and dead persisted through devotion. Faith ensured continuity across generations and eternity successfully. Mummification exemplified combination of religion, science, and art. Techniques demonstrated understanding of anatomy and sacred principles. Every procedure reflected respect, faith, and cosmic order. Preparation guaranteed Pharaoh's journey and eternal immortality completely. Monuments and mummies symbolized eternal life belief strongly. Society honored gods, kings, and ancestors together faithfully. Spiritual practices maintained Egypt's cosmic and social balance. Journey to afterlife shaped culture and civilization permanently. The Book of the Dead guided souls. Ancient spells mapped paths through the afterlife. Texts helped navigate dangers in it. Knowledge became protection beyond mortal existence. Written on papyrus with sacred precision, scribes copied spells passed through generations. Every line carried divine cosmic power. Words acted as bridges to eternity. Funerary texts instructed souls during judgment. Spells taught how to answer gods. Proper knowledge ensured a safe passage. Ignorance meant chaos, fear, and destruction. Chapters described gates guarded by deities. Each guardian demanded passwords and identities. Texts empowered souls to speak correctly. Ritual knowledge opened every celestial doorway. Books included formulas for spiritual protection. Spells repelled demons roaming sacred darkness. Words shielded souls from supernatural harm. Magic maintained balance through perilous journey. Illustrations revealed landscapes of the Duat. Scenes blended myth, morality, and cosmology. Images showed rivers, deserts, and divine realms. Art explained dangers awaiting unprepared souls. The weighing of the heart appeared prominently. Text taught purity, truth, and moral strength. Instructions prepared soul for a Matesh judgment. Outcome determined immortality or final destruction. Funerary books evolved through dynasties. Earlier versions appeared in pyramid inscriptions. Coffin texts expanded knowledge to common people. Book of the Dead refined teachings comprehensively. Customization made each copy unique and personal. Families selected spells for specific needs. Texts reflected professions, beliefs, and social identity. Every version carried individual spiritual purpose. Pharaohs commissioned lavish illustrated manuscripts. Pages glowed with color, symbolism, and artistry. Royal texts ensured protection at highest level. Kings entered eternity with divine confidence. Common citizens used simpler versions frequently. Affordable papyrus expanded access widely. Belief in afterlife united every Egyptian. Faith crossed boundaries of class and wealth. Priests performed readings during funerary ceremonies. Ritual chants activated power within spells. Voices bridged living and divine realms. Words awakened ancient forces guiding souls. Texts emphasized virtue, honesty, and cosmic order. Morality remained central to eternal survival. No spell replaced truthfulness of heart. Character determined fate beyond sacred gates. Book of the Dead preserved Egyptian worldview. It captured fear, hope, and eternal longing. Pages revealed depth of spiritual imagination. Text shaped culture across countless generations. These funerary writings connected worlds seamlessly. Magic, faith, and knowledge worked together. Egyptians prepared for life beyond death. Their words still echo through eternity. Temples rose as gateways to divine realms. Stone walls echoed with ancient sacred chants. Every corridor carried whispers of gods. Faith shaped architecture with eternal purpose. Priests maintained rituals from dawn onward. Offerings honored gods guiding daily life. Ceremonies preserved cosmic balance and order. Devotion kept heavens aligned with earth. Temples functioned as centers of learning. Scholars studied astronomy, medicine, and mathematics. Knowledge recorded silently on sacred papyrus. Wisdom grew beneath towering stone columns. Libraries preserved thousands of ancient scrolls. Texts described stars, rituals, and history. Scribes guarded knowledge with unwavering dedication. Temples became vaults of human understanding. Students trained under priests for years. Sacred disciplines required focus and discipline. Lessons shaped minds for spiritual leadership. Learning blended science, art, and religion. Temples managed land, taxes, and agriculture. Economic power flowed through priestly administrations. Harvests funded rituals and temple maintenance. Kingdom relied on well-organized sacred institutions. Priests acted as advisors to pharaohs. Their wisdom influenced political and spiritual decisions. Temple networks strengthened national unity consistently. Authority spread through faith and administration. Architectural design symbolized cosmic creation principles. Columns represented primordial papyrus marshes rising. Ceilings depicted stars mapping divine order. Walls reenacted myths, shaping Egyptian identity. Sanctuaries housed statues of worshipped deities. Only priests entered these holy chambers. Ritual care awakened divine spiritual presence. Gods remained active through daily offerings. Festival processions animated temples with energy. Crowds gathered celebrating ancient sacred traditions. Boats carried statues across Nile waters. Communities renewed bonds with divine realms. Temples served as healing sanctuaries too. Patients sought cures through spiritual intervention. Priests interpreted dreams revealing hidden solutions. Faith became medicine in troubled times. Massive complexes like Karnak inspired awe. Structures reflected devotion through centuries continuously. Every stone embodied collective national faith. Temples shaped Egypt's cultural and spiritual identity. Outlying chapels supported local village worship. Smaller shrines strengthened community religious life. Faith connected deserts, villages, and cities. Worship unified people across vast distances. Temples outlived dynasties and sweeping changes. Their stones remembered forgotten ancient generations. Ruins still echo with ritual power. Sacred silence preserves stories of eternity. These holy centers defined Egyptian civilization. Knowledge, worship, and power merged seamlessly. Temples guided life from birth onward. Their legacy endures across human history. Farmers worked dawn beneath rising sun. Nile's rich soil shaped their destiny. Fields flourished through careful seasonal labor. Harvests sustained families across ancient villages. Water wheels lifted life-giving water. Irrigation channels fed wheat and barley. Farmers mastered rhythms of annual floods. Nature guided every stage of survival. Craftsmen shaped Egypt's beauty and legacy. Hands carved stone with timeless precision. Workshops produced pottery, jewelry, and tools. Skills passed quietly through generations faithfully. Stonecutters hewed limestone for grand temples. Carpenters built furniture for noble households. Metal workers forged weapons and sacred ornaments. Craftsmanship reflected devotion, pride, and identity. Soldiers protected borders against desert threats. Regiments marched under blazing desert skies. Training forged discipline, strength, and unity. Pharaohs' command guided every battlefield movement. Warriors carried spears, shields, and chariots. Military ranks strengthened Egypt's expanding influence. Victories brought tribute, prisoners, and resources. Soldiers upheld safety throughout vast territories. Scribes recorded taxes, laws, and stories. Ink on papyrus preserved empire's memory. Writing elevated scribes above common labor. Knowledge granted prestige, respect, and stability. Scribes trained 4 years mastering symbols. Hieroglyphs demanded precision and disciplined focus. Every sign held sacred cultural meaning. Writing maintained order across Egypt's institutions. Scribes worked inside bustling administrative offices. They documented harvests, festivals, and trade. Records ensured fairness and governmental efficiency. Bureaucracy shaped life throughout daily routines. Common workers supported temples and workshops. Their labor fueled religious and economic systems. Ordinary people built extraordinary ancient monuments. Collective effort strengthened Egypt's enduring legacy. Villages thrived through cooperation and mutual trust. Farmers shared tools during planting season. Craftsmen exchanged goods for essential supplies. Communities survived through unity and resilience. Festivals gave workers rest and celebration. Music echoed through streets during processions. Joy balanced hardships of demanding labor. People honored gods with heartfelt gratitude. Families depended on steady, honest work. Children observed parents shaping daily tasks. Skills developed slowly through constant practice. Traditions continued through hands and heart. Ordinary professions formed Egypt's foundation. Their efforts built cities and empires. They shaped culture through dedicated daily labor. Greatness emerged from countless unnamed individuals. Behind monuments stood everyday Egyptian workers. Their lives powered achievements of pharaohs. Silent hands preserved civilization for millennia. Their legacy endures through history's echo. Families formed the heart of Egyptian life. Homes echoed with laughter, work, and tradition. Roles shaped identity across generations peacefully. Unity strengthened households through changing seasons. Parents taught values rooted in math, truth, balance, and order-guided upbringing. Children learned respect, responsibility, and harmony. Family shaped character for adulthood's demands. Marriage created stability and social structure. Couples built households through shared cooperation. Love blended with duty and community expectations. Partnership ensured security throughout uncertain times. Weddings involved family blessings and rituals. Feasts celebrated unity of two households. Communities gathered honoring bond of marriage. Joy blended with hopes for a future. Men worked fields, workshops, and administration. Their duties supported family livelihood daily. Responsibility defined their role within community. Strength and dedication ensured household survival. Women managed homes with steady discipline. They oversaw meals, weaving, and children. Their presence shaped rhythm of family. Household harmony depended on their guidance. Mothers passed traditions to younger generations. They taught stories, songs, and practical skills. Wisdom flowed quietly through everyday lessons. Culture survived through nurturing feminine leadership. Children enjoyed games along village streets. They helped parents with simple chores. Youth learned responsibilities through gradual practice. Community prepared them for adult roles. Elders held respected positions of authority. Their experience guided families during challenges. Stories preserved history through spoken memory. Generations honored them with deep reverence. Neighbors supported one another consistently. Communities shared resources during difficult seasons. Collective strength ensured survival and stability. Unity shaped the villages across fertile Nile. Festivals brought families together joyfully. Music filled courtyards with vibrant energy. Offerings honored gods protecting household life. Celebrations renewed bonds across entire community. Homes varied based on social status. Common families lived in humble structures. Nobles enjoyed spacious, decorated residences. All valued warmth and familial togetherness. Community leaders settled disputes peacefully. They upheld fairness based on ancient traditions. Mediation maintained stability within local villages. People trusted leaders with social justice. Family honor influenced public reputation strongly. Good conduct elevated standing among neighbors. Harmony reflected adherence to cultural values. Families protected legacy across future generations. Egyptian society thrived through strong families. Marriage built foundations for social unity. Community shaped lives with shared purpose. Together, they sustained empires' lasting strength. Clothing reflected climate, comfort, and culture. Linen garments flowed lightly in desert heat. Fabric came from carefully woven flax. Simplicity shaped elegance across ancient Egypt. Men wore kilts tied around waist. Women wore long dresses with straps. Styles varied across dynasties and regions. Grace and practicality guided every design. Nobles added jewelry made from gold. Collars shone brightly with precious stones. Bracelets and amulets carried symbolic meaning. Adornment represented wealth, protection, and status. Children often played barefoot outdoors. Simple clothing allowed freedom and movement. Life encouraged comfort over strict fashion. Warm climate supported minimal daily wear. Egyptian meals centered around bread, barley, and wheat shaped everyday diets. Flat loaves filled kitchens with aroma. Food reflected agriculture and river abundance. Fish came fresh from fertile Nile. Vegetables grew beside irrigated fields. Farmers harvested onions, lettuce, and beans. Meals balanced flavor, nutrition, and simplicity. Dates and figs sweetened daily meals. Honey added richness to festive dishes. Fruit symbolized prosperity and joyous living. Nature offered sweetness throughout changing seasons. Beer served as common daily drink, brewed from barley with mild flavor. Workers refreshed themselves after long labor. Drinks bound community in shared tradition. Music filled gatherings with emotional harmony. Rhythms echoed through markets and festivals. Songs carried stories of ancient heroes. Melodies connected people to sacred memory. Musicians played harps, flutes, and lyres. Drums added heartbeat to lively celebrations. Instruments shaped atmosphere during religious ceremonies. Sound became bridge between earthly and divine. Dancers moved gracefully in festive crowds. Choreography expressed joy, devotion, and celebration. Every movement honored gods and ancestors. Dance brought community together in unity. Workers sang while performing daily tasks. Songs lifted spirits during demanding labor. Voices blended with rhythm of tools. Music transformed work into shared experience. Nobles enjoyed private performances at banquets. Skilled entertainers showcased elegance and artistry. Music elevated mood during luxurious feasts. Art shaped atmosphere within noble households. Children learned instruments from early age. Music became a natural part of education. Rhythms developed creativity, memory, and discipline. Tradition passed through hands of youth. Clothing revealed identity and social rank. Food displayed abundance of Nile's blessings. Music captured spirit of ancient life. Together, they shaped Egypt's human story. Education shaped Egypt's administrative foundations. Learning prepared youth for responsible roles. Schools taught discipline, obedience, and precision. Knowledge ensured stability across the kingdom. Children of officials entered scribal schools. Training demanded patience, effort, and commitment. Days filled with writing, reading, and memorization. Success required unwavering dedication to study. Students practiced hieroglyphs on pottery shards. Mistakes erased, lessons repeated countless times. Repetition sharpened skill and mental discipline. Symbols became second nature through persistence. Teachers guided pupils with strict authority. Their lessons shaped future administrators carefully. Discipline ensured mastery of complex writing. Respect for knowledge grew steadily daily. Scribes learned mathematics for record keeping. Numbers tracked harvests, taxes, and labor. Accuracy maintained order across entire nation. Mathematics supported economy and government stability. Geography and law formed essential subjects. Students studied borders, territories, and disputes. Knowledge prepared them for legal documentation. Scribes upheld fairness in administrative matters. Advanced students learned sacred religious texts. Priests required scribes for ceremonial duties. Writing preserved hymns, rituals, and mythologies. Scribes maintained spiritual order for temples. Scribal tools symbolized prestige and authority. Reed pens carried weight beyond function. Ink palettes represented wisdom and responsibility. Tools reflected dignity of intellectual labor. Graduated scribes entered government offices. Their roles influenced trade and taxation. Administrative work shaped Egypt's daily functioning. Written records guided decisions across provinces. Scribes collaborated with builders and overseers. Plans documented every detail precisely. Monument construction required absolute written clarity. Writing ensured accuracy on massive projects. Court scribes recorded trials and testimonies. Their words preserved truth for generations. Documentation protected fairness within legal systems. Record-keeping upheld justice and social order. Temple scribes copied sacred ancient scriptures. They safeguarded myths through devoted transcription. Texts survived centuries due to scribes. Writing preserved Egypt's spiritual continuity. Scribes held respected status in society. Knowledge elevated them above manual labor. Their education opened paths to influence. Wisdom became their strongest social currency. Families took pride in educated children. Parents valued discipline over physical strength. Scribes ensured stability through every dynasty. Learning remained foundation of Egyptian civilization. Education shaped Egypt's memory and future. Writing preserved culture for millennia ahead. Scribes carried knowledge across generations faithfully. Their legacy endures in every ancient line. Egyptian medicine blended science and spirituality. Healing grew from observation and ritual. Knowledge passed through generations of practitioners. Wisdom shaped treatments for everyday ailments. Doctors studied nature with disciplined curiosity. They examined plants, animals, and environment. Observation guided early medical understanding. Science grew slowly from careful practice. Papyrus scrolls recorded detailed medical knowledge. Texts described symptoms, treatments, and remedies. Writings preserved centuries of accumulated wisdom. Scholars safeguarded learning through meticulous transcription. Physicians specialized in particular body parts. Some treated eyes, others internal diseases. Expertise ensured precise and effective healing. Specialization strengthened medical reliability in communities. Herbal remedies formed foundation of treatment. Garlic, honey, and treated wounds. Herbs reduced pain and prevented infection. Nature offered solutions across countless ailments. Surgeons performed procedures with steady hands. They stitched wounds using linen thread. Splints supported broken bones during recovery. Tools reflected skill rather than complexity. Magical spells accompanied physical treatments. Priests invoked protection from harmful spirits. Ritual words strengthened patients' emotional resilience. Spiritual belief enhanced healing's overall impact. Temples served as ancient healing centers. Patients sought cures through divine intervention. Dreams revealed guidance from compassionate gods. Recovery blended medicine, faith, and hope. Astrology influenced diagnosis and timing. Movements of stars shaped treatment decisions. Cosmic patterns guided physicians' careful choices. Universe intertwined with human health rhythms. Disease prevention emphasized cleanliness and diet. People valued hygiene in daily routines. Balanced meals protected against common illnesses. Health grew from disciplined everyday habits. Midwives guided women through childbirth safely. Experience shaped their calm, steady hands. They relied on tradition and herbal knowledge. Generations survived through their devoted care. Dentists treated toothaches and oral infections. Tools cleaned tartar and extracted teeth. Skills eased suffering across entire communities. Dental care showcased early scientific innovation. Scientists studied geometry, stars, and time. Astronomy supported calendars and seasonal planning. Knowledge shaped agriculture and temple rituals. Science strengthened structure of daily life. Medicine intertwined with architecture and mathematics. Skills supported embalming and anatomical understanding. Observation laid foundations for future science. Egypt built knowledge beyond its monuments. Healing defined compassion in Egyptian culture. Science shaped wisdom for countless generations. Doctors balanced reason with spiritual understanding. Their legacy echoes through ancient medical history. Egypt's early armies protected fragile borders. Desert winds carried threats from afar. Villages depended on disciplined local defenders. Safety shaped survival along shifting frontiers. Soldiers trained daily under scorching sun. Spears and shields formed their primary weapons. Strength grew through repetition and endurance. Duty demanded unwavering physical commitment. Nomadic raiders tested Egypt's resilience. Skirmishes erupted along remote outposts. Guards responded swiftly to sudden attacks. Alertness protected settlements from constant danger. Fortresses rose along vulnerable desert paths. Walls guarded trade routes and caravans. Towers allowed scouts to spot intruders. Architecture strengthened Egypt's defensive strategy. River borders required vigilant protection always. Patrols watched Nile from sturdy boats. Enemies attempted crossings during night hours. Guards prevented invasions through coordinated defense. Early armies lacked large organized divisions. Units formed based on regional communities. Local loyalty strengthened battlefield cooperation. Unity forged trust among frontline warriors. Commanders studied terrain before engagements. Deserts offered challenges and hidden advantages. Knowledge shaped tactics during sudden encounters. Preparation often determined victory or defeat. Archers played crucial roles in battle. Their arrows struck enemies from distance. Skilled archers shifted balance of combat. Precision became powerful. Decisive battlefield element. Border tribes sometimes formed alliances. Diplomacy reduced threats without bloodshed. Peace agreements preserved stability for years. Tension eased through careful negotiation efforts. Conflicts shaped early Egyptian military identity. Leaders learned the importance of strong defense. Strategies evolved from centuries of experience. War prompted innovation across entire kingdom. Enemies included Libyans, Nubians, and nomads. Each presented unique battlefield challenges. Egypt adapted tactics for every opponent. Flexibility strengthened long-term military success. Militia forces supported professional soldiers. Villages joined defense during urgent threats. Community participation expanded army capacity. People protected homeland with collective courage. Offerings honored gods before marching out. Warriors sought divine protection for battle. Rituals strengthened morale and unity. Faith guided soldiers through deadly struggles. Victories secured borders for generations. Peace allowed agriculture to flourish peacefully. Families lived without fear of invasion. Security shaped foundation of Egyptian prosperity. Early battles shaped Egypt's future power. Defense forged discipline across entire army. Strength emerged from centuries of vigilance. Borders defined destiny of ancient Egypt. Chariots transformed Egypt's battlefield strategy. Speed replaced slow infantry movements completely. Battles shifted with newfound rapid mobility. War evolved through wheels and horses. Light chariots glided across desert terrain. Crafted from wood and rawhide carefully. Design balanced strength, speed, and control. Innovation reshaped armies across the kingdom. Teams of horses pulled chariots swiftly. Training built trust between man and animal. Synchronization determined battlefield effectiveness daily. Partnership created unmatched combat precision. Charioteers worked in coordinated pairs. One steered while another fired arrows. Team roles produced deadly battlefield accuracy. Cooperation ensured survival amid fierce combat. Composite bows increased chariot firepower dramatically. Arrows flew farther with greater force. Technology surpassed earlier simple wooden bows. Advancement altered tactics across entire region. Reinforced wheels improved chariot stability. Skilled craftsmen shaped perfect circular frames. Durability supported harsh battlefield conditions. Engineering strengthened Egypt's growing military confidence. Armor offered protection for charioteers. Leather shields deflected enemy projectiles. Helmets reduced injuries during violent collisions. Safety enhanced performance in dangerous engagements. Chariot units moved in disciplined formations. Commanders coordinated attacks with precise timing. Waves of chariots overwhelmed enemy lines. Momentum dictated early outcomes of battles. Foreign influence sparked rapid technological growth. Hyksos introduced chariots to Egyptian warfare. Egypt learned, adapted, and innovated quickly. Transformation reshaped military identity forever. Workshops produced weapons and chariot parts. Laborers crafted gear with meticulous care. Quality determined success during brutal engagements. Industry fueled expansion of Egyptian power. Chariots supported scouts during reconnaissance missions. Speed allowed swift navigation of borders. Armies gained advantage through early intelligence. Information shaped decisions on battlefield positioning. Elite charioteers trained for years. Skill elevated them above common soldiers. Prestige surrounded units of royal chariots. Nobility often served among their ranks. Pharaohs rode chariots during combat. Their presence inspired troops with confidence. Symbolic bravery shaped battlefield morale. Leadership connected power with divine authority. Chariot warfare dominated New Kingdom campaigns. Technology expanded range of Egyptian conquest. Innovation strengthened empire's military dominance. Warfare entered bold, transformative new era. New weapons changed fate of kingdoms. Chariots combined speed, strength, and precision. Technology redefined strategy for generations. Egypt rose through mastery of innovation. The New Kingdom emerged after centuries' turmoil. Pharaohs consolidated power across unified territories. Strong leadership restored stability and national pride. Military might became foundation of empire strength. Standing armies replaced local village militias. Professional soldiers trained under rigorous discipline. Strategy and coordination improved with organized forces. Efficiency transformed defense and conquest capability. Chariots became symbols of royal authority. Speed, power, and precision reshaped warfare. Elite units inspired loyalty among ordinary troops. Innovation fueled victories across distant lands. Pharaohs led campaigns to expand borders. Nubia and Levant witnessed Egyptian dominance. Tributaries sent wealth and resources regularly. Military success reinforced political influence firmly. Campaigns relied on careful planning and supply. Logistics ensured soldiers and chariots moved efficiently. Food, water, and equipment sustained long journeys. Strategy combined intelligence, terrain, and timing perfectly. New Kingdom kings valued both offense and defense. Fortresses secured strategic desert and river points. Borders were monitored with skilled garrisons. Security allowed agriculture and trade to flourish. Military innovation spread across every level. Weapon improvements increased lethality and reliability. Training emphasized adaptability and battlefield awareness. Armies adapted tactics for evolving threats swiftly. Pharaohs projected power through spectacle and might. Victory parades reinforced loyalty among subjects. Triumphs emphasized divine favor and leadership. Military glory linked gods with human authority. Allies and conquered peoples contributed to campaigns. Tribute provided manpower, materials, and knowledge. Integration strengthened Egypt's regional influence permanently. Empire expanded through diplomacy and force combined. Royal tombs celebrated victories and achievements. Hieroglyphs recorded battles, strategies, and heroes. Monuments immortalized kings' military accomplishments. Art communicated power across generations faithfully. Skilled commanders advised pharaohs during wars. Tactics reflected experience, knowledge, and foresight. Decisions balanced risk, reward, and resources. Leadership defined the empire's enduring strength. Nobles often served in elite chariot units. Status, training, and loyalty ensured battlefield success. War became honor, prestige, and duty intertwined. Military life shaped social hierarchy deeply. Expansion relied on Nile and desert mobility. Chariots allowed rapid strikes on distant regions. Egypt's army projected power far beyond borders. Territory grew under disciplined, organized campaigns. New Kingdom became the empire's golden age. Military victories secured wealth, trade, and stability. Pharaohs reinforced authority with tangible results. Egypt became a formidable Mediterranean power. Innovation, discipline, and strategy defined the New Kingdom. Its armies inspired awe across Africa and Asia. Power balanced defense, and divine sanction. Legacy of conquest endured for centuries afterwards. The Battle of Megiddo shaped Egypt's destiny. Pharaoh Thutmose III led forces with strategy. Allies and enemies clashed in narrow valleys. Victory secured tribute and regional dominance permanently. Chariots raced across sun-baked hills quickly. Arrows darkened skies as soldiers advanced steadily. Speed and coordination overwhelmed opposing armies completely. Planning determined triumph amid chaotic battlefield noise. Megiddo demonstrated Egypt's growing military power. Soldiers followed discipline instilled by experienced commanders. Training allowed precise execution of complex maneuvers. Strategy ensured survival and ultimate success consistently. Kadesh became one of history's most famous battles. Ramses II confronted the Hittite army decisively. Thousands of chariots and infantry clashed violently. Tactics relied on cunning, speed, and intelligence. Ambushes and feints shifted the battle's momentum. Egyptian forces used terrain to advantage skillfully. Communication between units determined coordinated maneuvers effectively. Commanders adapted plans during every unfolding moment. Both battles tested courage of ordinary soldiers. Discipline, endurance, and bravery defined the front lines. Charioteers and archers displayed unmatched precision and skill. Survival relied on strength, loyalty, and resolve. Records depicted heroes and pharaohs alike prominently. Hieroglyphs immortalized strategies and notable feats. Artistic depictions reinforced power for generations. Victory served as propaganda and inspiration equally. Megiddo secured Egypt's influence over Canaan. Tributes flowed from cities now under control. Political power strengthened with military enforcement. Empire expanded without direct conquest in all cases. Kadesh involved massive chariot formations on plains. Ramesses demonstrated leadership under intense pressure. Tactical withdrawals allowed regrouping for counterattack. Strategic decisions determined victory despite high casualties. Diplomacy followed military engagements in both cases. Treaties balanced power between Egypt and rivals. Wars ended with negotiated stability and respect. Conflict shaped political landscape for decades. Soldiers celebrated victories with ritual offerings. Temples honored gods guiding campaigns successfully. Faith reinforced morale and divine favor belief. Victory intertwined human effort with sacred protection. Legacy of Megiddo influenced military thinking. Commanders studied coordination, logistics, and timing. Egyptian strategy became model for future generations. Lessons endured through centuries of warfare study. Kadesh produced famous Egyptian-Hittite treaty afterward. Peace ensured stability along contested borders. Diplomacy complemented battlefield prowess effectively. Balance between war and negotiation maintained empire. Monuments recorded victories and pharaohs' glory. Public memory celebrated courage and strategy simultaneously. Stories of battles inspired loyalty across Egypt. Legacy defined greatness of New Kingdom military. Both battles exemplified skill, discipline, and innovation. Egyptian armies demonstrated tactical brilliance repeatedly. Victory relied on leadership, preparation, and faith. These clashes echoed across history permanently. Egypt expanded southward into fertile Nubia. Pharaohs sought gold, ivory, and slaves. Military outposts secured trade and resources. Empire grew through conquest and strategic planning. Nubian campaigns relied on swift, disciplined armies. Chariots and archers dominated desert terrain. Fortresses controlled key river passages effectively. Supply lines ensured long-term military success. Temples marked Egyptian presence across Nubia. Monuments displayed authority and divine favor. Local rulers often pledged loyalty willingly. Cultural influence spread alongside military control. The Levant presented different strategic challenges. Mountainous terrain and fortified cities slowed progress. Egypt adapted tactics for diverse environments. Knowledge of geography shaped every campaign. Alliances with local city-states eased expansion. Diplomacy often reduced bloodshed and resistance. Tributaries provided wealth, manpower, and resources. Political control extended through combined methods. Chariot units projected power across vast deserts. Archers maintained dominance on open battlefields. Egyptian soldiers enforced authority effectively and decisively. Military strength ensured borders remained secure. Trade routes connected Nubia to Mediterranean markets. Egyptian expansion brought wealth into capital cities. Gold and resources funded monumental construction projects. Prosperity reinforced Pharaoh's domestic and international power. Settlements in conquered territories maintained Egyptian culture. Temples, art, and administration spread far. Language, religion, and customs influenced local populations. Cultural assimilation strengthened empire's cohesion gradually. Pharaohs celebrated victories through monumental inscriptions. Hieroglyphs depicted battles, tributes, and conquests. Victory reinforced divine favor and authority. Records ensured legacy for future generations. Military campaigns demanded careful planning and logistics. Food, water, and supplies traveled long distances. Coordination allowed effective occupation of foreign lands. Efficiency determined success and survival consistently. Conflict arose when rebellions challenged Egyptian rule. Rapid response and diplomacy quelled unrest quickly. Egypt maintained control through force and negotiation. Stability ensured continued wealth and influence. Nubia contributed soldiers and resources to Egypt. Integration strengthened military and economic networks. Empire thrived through combined human and material power. Collaboration reinforced dominance across conquered regions. In the Levant, fortified cities tested strategy. Sieges required patience, skill, and persistence. Egyptian forces adapted constantly to each situation. Tactics evolved with every military encounter. Expansion shaped Egypt's New Kingdom Golden Age. Borders stretched from Nubia to Levant effectively. Power projected across Africa and Asia. Empire's strength symbolized innovation, strategy, and courage. Legacy of conquest lasted centuries thereafter. Trade, culture, and influence followed Egyptian soldiers. Nubia and Levant integrated into empire's framework. Egypt's reach became vast and enduring permanently. The Old Kingdom marked Egypt's first golden age. Pharaohs ruled with absolute divine authority. Society focused on monumental architecture and religion. Stone and labor shaped the eternal landscape. Pyramids rose as tombs for eternal kings. Saqqara and Giza displayed unmatched engineering brilliance. Workers labored under sun with precise coordination. Every block reflected skill, devotion, and purpose. Architects planned structures with mathematical accuracy. Alignment mirrored stars and cosmic order deliberately. Designs symbolized Pharaoh's connection to gods. Temples and tombs embodied power and eternity. Laborers included farmers, craftsmen, and slaves. Communities contributed to national projects collectively. Harvests supported construction of massive monuments. Unity made civilization stronger and more resilient. Mastobas preceded pyramids as royal burial structures. Early tombs preserved bodies and funerary goods. Designs evolved into step and true pyramids. Innovation reflected Egyptian ambition and ingenuity. The Great Pyramid of Khufu astounded generations. Thousands of workers moved stone with primitive tools. Mathematics guided every construction decision carefully. Achievement inspired awe across local and distant lands. Religion motivated monumental projects and labor. Pharaohs connected mortals to divine cosmos. Tombs celebrated life, death, and immortality. Society thrived through devotion and hierarchy. Centralized government coordinated these ambitious endeavors. Officials ensured resources, labor, and planning efficiency. Organization supported complex architecture across the Nile. Administration underpinned every successful construction campaign. Art flourished alongside monumental architecture continuously. Sculpture, painting, and inscriptions depicted royal achievements. Hieroglyphs preserved history for future generations. Cultural expression reinforced Pharaoh's eternal glory. Old Kingdom economy relied on agriculture and trade. Nile floods provided sustenance and labor support. Abundance funded royal projects and daily life. Prosperity allowed focus on religion and artistry. Knowledge of geometry and astronomy advanced greatly. Observation guided pyramid alignment and ceremonial timing. Science and faith intertwined in everyday decisions. Innovation reflected balance between practicality and sacredness. Pharaoh's divine status reinforced labor motivation. Workers believed projects honored gods and kings. Faith united society toward shared monumental vision. Religious devotion fueled physical and spiritual efforts. Legacy of the Old Kingdom endures today. Pyramids stand as symbols of human achievement. Ancient knowledge resonates across millennia and continents. Stone structures speak of ambition and eternity. Monuments influenced future kingdoms and civilizations widely. Egyptian techniques inspired architecture across centuries. Engineering mastery became hallmark of national pride. Old Kingdom's impact defined enduring cultural identity. Egypt reached first heights of centralized power. Art, religion, and construction intertwined seamlessly. Golden Age laid foundations for a future greatness. Pharaoh's vision shaped civilization forevermore. The Middle Kingdom followed centuries of political turmoil. Pharaohs restored order across fractured lands. Centralized rule brought stability and renewed faith. Egypt thrived under careful, organized governance. Capital moved to Ichtori in Fayum region. Administrative centers strengthened royal authority regionally. Officials oversaw taxes, agriculture, and labor. Government ensured security, prosperity, and justice effectively. Agriculture flourished along Nile's fertile banks. Irrigation projects expanded productive farmland significantly. Harvests provided wealth and fed growing population. Economic stability underpinned cultural and political revival. Art and literature experienced renewed creativity. Poetry, wisdom texts, and narratives flourished nationally. Scribes recorded stories, prayers, and historical events. Cultural expression reflected values, morality, and identity. Temples and tombs displayed architectural innovation creatively. Smaller pyramids marked royal burials efficiently. Artisans refined techniques learned from Old Kingdom. Craftsmanship combined practicality with spiritual symbolism carefully. Pharaohs emphasized justice through math principles actively. Courts and legal reforms maintained social harmony. People trusted leadership to resolve disputes fairly. Stability strengthened loyalty across urban and rural regions. Military campaigns extended Egypt's borders modestly. Control focused on Nubia and Sinai regions. Fortresses secured trade routes and natural resources. Strategic defense ensured long-term regional security effectively. Religious practices evolved with new emphasis. Local gods gained prominence alongside state cults. Temples served as centers of learning actively. Faith guided personal, communal, and political life. Literature celebrated morality, wisdom, and human experience. The instructions of Amenhotep guided daily behavior. Texts preserved advice from pharaohs to subjects. Education reflected values of loyalty, balance, and order. Trade expanded with neighboring African and Mediterranean regions. Exchange of gold, incense, and luxury goods thrived. Economy grew with commerce and diplomatic relations. Egypt regained wealth through both conquest and commerce. Public works improved infrastructure across the kingdom. Canals, roads, and fortifications enhanced connectivity. Communities benefited from improved transportation and security. Royal projects fostered unity and practical advancement. Art became more realistic and expressive gradually. Sculpture depicted pharaohs, officials, and ordinary citizens. Portrayals emphasized individuality alongside divine attributes. Innovation balanced tradition with humanistic refinement carefully. Middle Kingdom strengthened Egypt's administrative foundations permanently. Provinces were managed efficiently under royal oversight. Bureaucracy ensured resource allocation and social stability. Governance combined authority with practical effectiveness consistently. Legacy of the Middle Kingdom influenced future dynasties. Centralization and cultural achievements inspired new kingdom rulers. Stability, art, and governance created lasting traditions. Egypt's resurgence laid groundwork for Golden Era. The New Kingdom marked Egypt's most powerful era. Pharaohs expanded borders through military and diplomacy. Wealth flowed from trade, conquest, and tribute. Empire projected strength across Africa and Asia. Standing armies ensured security and expansion constantly. Professional soldiers trained rigorously under royal supervision. Chariots became symbols of speed and authority. Tactics combined innovation, discipline, and battlefield intelligence. Trade routes stretched across Mediterranean and Levant. Gold, timber, and luxury goods traveled extensively. Merchants linked Egypt with distant kingdoms efficiently. Commerce fueled wealth, temples, and monumental construction. Pharaohs funded massive building projects across empire. Temples, tombs, and obelisks displayed divine favor. Labor organized meticulously to achieve architectural marvels. Structures reinforced authority, faith, and cultural identity. Military campaigns secured Nubia and Levant territories. Elite charioteers led rapid desert assaults. Infantry and archers supported strategic operations effectively. Victory ensured tribute and political dominance reliably. Wealth supported art, culture, and religion simultaneously. Sculptures, jewelry, and ceremonial items reflected prosperity. Temples became centers of learning and ritual. Economic growth strengthened society and administration cohesively. Pharaohs' leadership inspired loyalty across the kingdom. Divine kingship legitimized authority and power. Royal presence boosted morale of soldiers and citizens. Faith intertwined with politics in every decision. Alliances and diplomacy complemented military conquest strategically. Egypt maintained influence through negotiation and treaties. Foreign relations ensured stability and expanded influence. Trade and diplomacy strengthened empire's long-term power. Royal tombs celebrated wealth and military achievement. Hieroglyphs recorded campaigns, offerings, and divine support. Monuments symbolized authority, prosperity, and cultural sophistication. Legacy reflected power of wealth and leadership. Economy relied on Nile's annual floods. Agriculture produced surplus for trade and tribute. Resource management supported construction, army, and temples. Surplus allowed focus on culture and innovation. Elite administration managed records, taxation, and logistics. Scribes ensured accurate accounting across all provinces. Knowledge maintained order and efficient resource distribution. Bureaucracy strengthened empire's enduring power significantly. Foreign merchants brought new goods and ideas. Exotic materials inspired craftsmanship and architecture. Cultural exchange enriched Egyptian society greatly. Wealth fueled creativity and international prestige continually. New Kingdom represented the peak of Egyptian civilization. Military, economy, and culture reached unprecedented heights. Pharaohs projected power locally and internationally effectively. Empire's golden age left enduring historical legacy. Thutmose III became known as Egypt's Napoleon. He expanded borders through careful military strategy. Campaigns into Nubia and Levant secured wealth. Empire grew stronger under his disciplined leadership. Skilled general and ruler combined wisdom with might. Battlefield innovation gave Egypt advantage repeatedly. Chariots and archers formed core of army. Victory shaped regional politics for generations afterwards. Ramses II became legendary through monumental achievements. Temples, statues, and obelisks reflected divine power. Abu Simbel symbolized glory and Pharaoh's legacy. Art preserved his reign across centuries faithfully. Ramses led armies in famous battles bravely. Kadesh and other campaigns tested military genius. Diplomacy followed battlefield triumphs strategically. Egypt's influence expanded under his firm command. Amenhotep III ruled during unprecedented peace and prosperity. Luxury and wealth marked his reign effectively. Trade flourished with Nubia, Levant, and Mediterranean. Culture and architecture reflected stability and grandeur continually. He commissioned massive temples and statues magnificently. Karnak and Luxor gained impressive expansions. Monuments immortalized his reign for eternity. Egypt celebrated artistic and cultural excellence abundantly. Pharaohs combined divine authority with human leadership. Symbolic titles emphasized connection with gods directly. Legitimacy reinforced through religion, ceremony, and art. Faith and politics intertwined across every decision. Thutmose III mastered strategy, diplomacy, and logistics. Ramses balanced warfare with monumental propaganda. Amenhotep III focused on prosperity and cultural achievements. Each contributed uniquely to new kingdom power. Military prowess defined Thutmose III's enduring fame. Ramses II achieved legendary status through monuments. Amenhotep III excelled in wealth and diplomacy. Leadership styles reflected priorities and historical context. Their reigns expanded Egypt's influence abroad. Borders stretched farther than any prior period. Tribute and trade enriched royal coffers substantially. Empire thrived under capable, visionary leadership consistently. Legacy endured through monuments, texts, and art. Names echoed across temples, tombs, and hieroglyphs. Pharaohs inspired generations with achievements and authority. History remembers them as Egypt's most powerful rulers. Diplomacy complemented military and economic strength effectively. Alliances reinforced regional stability across neighboring territories. Egypt's prestige grew through strategic political relationships. Pharaohs managed empire with foresight and skill. Architecture immortalized their names across time. Obelisks, temples, and statues showcased divine authority. Art celebrated victories, wealth, and devotion. Monuments reinforced their enduring historical legacy permanently. These rulers shaped Egypt's golden age. Military, culture, and prosperity intertwined seamlessly. Their reigns defined new kingdoms' strength and glory. History remembers them for wisdom, power, and achievement. Egypt maintained influence through skilled diplomacy consistently. Pharaohs sent emissaries to neighboring kingdoms regularly. Peace treaties balanced power across the region. Alliances prevented conflict and ensured mutual benefit. Trade connected Egypt with Mediterranean and Near East. Gold, cedar, and luxury goods flowed freely. Merchants exchanged products, ideas, and technologies widely. Commerce strengthened economy and royal coffers reliably. The Levant supplied timber for monumental projects. Lebanese cedar built ships, temples, and palaces. Resources supported military, religious, and artistic endeavors. Imported materials enhanced Egyptian craftsmanship extensively. Nubia contributed gold, ivory, and skilled labor. Desert trade routes carried wealth safely. Egyptian expansion secured access to vital resources. Empire thrived through both conquest and commerce. Diplomacy relied on gifts and royal marriages. Alliances strengthened bonds between distant dynasties peacefully. Marriage treaties ensured political loyalty and trust. Relationships balanced power without constant warfare. Egypt traded with Cyprus, Crete, and Mycenae. Exotic goods included wine, olive oil, and textiles. Cultural exchange influenced art, religion, and fashion. Ideas traveled alongside material wealth efficiently. Pharaohs hosted foreign dignitaries at grand courts. Ceremony emphasized Egypt's power, wealth, and culture. Protocol reinforced respect and mutual recognition diplomatically. Visitors experienced grandeur of Pharaonic civilization firsthand. Scribes documented treaties, trade agreements, and missions. Written records ensured clarity and enforcement across distances. Administration relied on careful accounting and communication. Knowledge preserved stability and economic prosperity effectively. Military strength supported diplomatic efforts subtly. Allies respected Egypt's capacity for decisive action. Defense deterred aggression and reinforced negotiation positions. Power projected silently through visible preparedness constantly. Sea trade expanded under New Kingdom pharaohs. Mediterranean ships transported goods quickly and safely. Ports became hubs of wealth and culture. Egypt integrated foreign influence into domestic society. Tributaries brought regular offerings to royal coffers. Gold, grain, and exotic items flowed steadily. Conquered regions contributed to empire's wealth consistently. Economic power strengthened Egypt's political and military stance. Cultural diplomacy shared religion and art across borders. Temples and monuments inspired admiration abroad significantly. Egyptian influence shaped neighboring societies subtly and steadily. Soft power complemented military and economic dominance effectively. Luxury goods funded temples, festivals, and monuments. Artisans thrived through high demand for craftsmanship. Trade wealth supported education, scribes, and administration. Economy and culture advanced hand in hand efficiently. International networks allowed exchange of knowledge and science. Astronomy, medicine, and mathematics spread through contacts. Egypt became center of learning and innovation. Intellectual exchange strengthened empire's regional prestige permanently. Diplomacy ensured long-term stability and prosperity. Egypt avoided unnecessary wars through negotiation skillfully. Alliances created a network of mutual respect. Trade and diplomacy reinforced empire's global influence consistently. Legacy of diplomacy shaped centuries to come. Egypt's wealth, power, and culture traveled widely. Networks sustained empire's prosperity across generations faithfully. International relations reflected strategic intelligence and foresight permanently. Egypt's power waned under weak rulers. Pharaohs lost authority over distant provinces gradually. Internal corruption eroded trust and stability constantly. Administration weakened as officials pursued personal gain. Provincial governors ignored central commands frequently. Taxes were mismanaged, reducing national wealth. Local disputes escalated without royal intervention. Chaos grew within once strong administrative structures. Pharaohs became figureheads rather than true leaders. Court intrigue overshadowed governance and public welfare. Decisions favored elites rather than common people. Leadership lost credibility among citizens and soldiers. Economic decline followed political instability quickly. Trade faltered as borders became insecure. Agricultural production suffered from mismanagement and neglect. Food shortages created unrest across communities consistently. Religious authority eroded alongside political power. Temples struggled without sufficient royal support. Priests competed for influence, weakening unity. Faith alone could not restore national stability. Noble families exploited the central government's weakness. Wealth and land were concentrated among few. Inequality fueled resentment and civil tensions steadily. Power shifted away from pharaohs' hands gradually. Military effectiveness declined under indecisive leadership. Training and discipline deteriorated across standing armies. Frontiers became vulnerable to external threats rapidly. Egypt could no longer project strength reliably. Civil unrest and revolts emerged frequently nationwide. Distrust among citizens and officials grew continuously. Social cohesion faltered as corruption persisted unchecked. Unity of the Nile civilization weakened over time. Weak rulers failed to inspire loyalty. Courtiers focused on personal ambitions selfishly. National priorities were ignored for short-term gain. Leadership vacuum left empire exposed to enemies. Economic, political, and military decline intertwined inseparably. Internal problems made Egypt vulnerable to outside forces. Corruption set stage for foreign domination inevitably. The empire's strength eroded year by year. Public monuments fell into neglect and decay. Temples, pyramids, and tombs no longer maintained. Symbolic architecture reflected weakening pharaonic authority. Eternal stone stood against fading human power. Internal decay opened doors for external invasions. Rulers could not defend borders effectively anymore. The Nile civilization faced challenges from all directions. Collapse of authority seemed increasingly inevitable and permanent. Legacy of weak rulers taught enduring lessons. Strong governance is foundation of civilization's survival. Egypt's ancient glory slowly slipped from grasp. Twilight approached for Pharaoh's once mighty empire. Egypt faced threats from foreign invaders frequently. Libyans crossed western deserts, seeking new territory. Frontiers weakened by internal corruption struggled to resist. Soldiers lacked discipline to defend borders effectively. Nubian forces pressed from the south relentlessly. Pharaohs attempted campaigns, but resources were scarce. Egypt's army weakened by poor leadership consistently. Control over Nile trade routes faltered significantly. Assyrians invaded with disciplined, well-equipped forces. Their chariots and archers overwhelmed Egyptian defenses. Sieges captured cities and key fortresses rapidly. Egyptian resistance could not withstand military precision. Foreign rulers installed puppet pharaohs strategically. Local administration continued under distant overlords cautiously. Tribute and taxes flowed to conquerors' coffers. Egypt's autonomy shrank as influence diminished quickly. Nomadic Libyan tribes settled within borders gradually. Integration into Egyptian society was uneasy and forced. Cultural and political influence of outsiders increased. Native elites lost authority over traditional lands. Nubian kingdoms occasionally controlled Upper Egypt temporarily. Pharaohs regained power through rebellion and negotiation. Back-and-forth conflicts weakened economic and social stability. Borders remained fluid, with constant tension everywhere. Assyrians imposed military and political dominance firmly. Egyptian cities fortified, but could not resist. Empire's influence over Levant and Nubia reduced. Trade routes and resources fell under foreign control. Resistance movements occasionally rose among local populations. Rebels fought to reclaim independence courageously. Success was temporary against organized invading armies. Foreign dominance often restored after uprisings failed. Egypt adapted militarily, politically, and diplomatically gradually. Alliances and tributes mitigated total collapse temporarily. Pharaohs learned to balance force with negotiation. Strategy became survival amid relentless external threats. Cultural exchange occurred, despite hostile occupation frequently. Foreign rulers adopted Egyptian religion and customs partially. Art, architecture, and administration reflected blended influences. Society persisted despite constant external pressures strategically. Repeated invasions left Egypt politically fractured permanently. Weakened central authority struggled to maintain unity. Foreign powers reshaped regional power dynamics continually. Empire's golden age slowly faded into twilight. Lessons of resistance, adaptation, and diplomacy emerged. Egypt survived through resilience despite invasions repeatedly. Foreign threats accelerated internal decline and instability. Civilization endured, yet empire's power diminished gradually. Legacy of invasions shaped later dynasty strategies. Military and political reforms attempted recovery efforts. Borders and trade remained vulnerable to future threats. History remembered invasions as turning points forever. Persians conquered Egypt under Cambyses swiftly. Pharaohs lost authority to distant rulers. Satraps administered provinces with strict oversight. Local customs persisted under foreign supervision cautiously. Persian taxation drained wealth from Egyptian lands. Tribute supported empires' vast, external ambitions. Economic control weakened Pharaohs' power internally. Resources flowed north to distant imperial centers. Resistance movements emerged among native Egyptians constantly. Rebellions challenged Persian governors across key regions. Local leaders sought to reclaim national autonomy. Battles erupted sporadically across Upper and Lower Egypt. Temples and priests maintained cultural traditions carefully. Religious rituals continued despite foreign political dominance. Faith provided social cohesion during occupation periods. Gods remained central to Egyptian identity strongly. Psamtik I restored native Egyptian rule gradually. 26th dynasty renewed Pharaonic authority effectively. Central government regained control over provinces slowly. Stability returned after centuries of foreign pressure. Military reforms strengthened Egypt's defensive capacity immediately. Standing armies replaced poorly trained regional militias. Fortresses protected trade routes and borderlands strategically. New leadership emphasized discipline, training, and organization. Trade revived under restored pharaohs' guidance efficiently. Mediterranean commerce brought wealth back into Egypt. Exports included grain, papyrus, and luxury goods. Economic revival fueled monumental construction and administration. Diplomacy balanced relations with Persian overlords carefully. Egypt negotiated autonomy while paying tribute partially. Foreign threats deterred with military readiness steadily. Restoration focused on survival through cautious strategy. Pharaohs commissioned new temples and monuments proudly. Cultural projects celebrated both past and present achievements. Art and inscriptions emphasized continuity and legitimacy. Architecture reinforced authority after periods of occupation. Persian control fluctuated with political instability frequently. Egypt regained independence periodically between invasions. Native rulers leveraged diplomacy, wealth, and force. Survival required adaptability to changing regional power. Cultural pride persisted despite foreign dominance strongly. Egyptians preserved traditions of religion and art. Language, customs, and governance endured external influence. Identity survived through centuries of political upheaval. Temporary restoration laid foundation for a new kingdom revival. Lessons learned guided future administration and military planning. Strength returned gradually through stability and reform. Egypt remained resilient despite centuries of foreign threats. Legacy of Persian dominance influenced later rulers significantly. Centralization, diplomacy, and military reforms shaped governance. Empire regained strength cautiously under native leadership. Twilight of occupation ended, but vigilance remained necessary. Alexander the Great arrived on Egyptian soil. Persian rule collapsed under Macedonian military power. Pharaohs no longer controlled the Nile directly. Egypt awaited a new era of leadership. Alexandria was founded along the Mediterranean coast. City became a hub of trade and culture. Greek architecture and learning transformed the landscape. Pharaohs' influence declined under foreign Hellenistic rule. Egyptians welcomed Alexander as a liberator enthusiastically. Persians were expelled with little resistance locally. Macedonian rule promised stability and prosperity quickly. Faith and loyalty shifted toward new leadership. Greek and Egyptian cultures began blending gradually. Temples, art, and administration adopted hybrid forms. Language, religion, and customs merged creatively. Hellenistic influence shaped daily life and governance. Alexander visited the Oracle of Amun proudly. He was proclaimed son of Egyptian god. Divine connection legitimized his authority locally. Egyptians accepted Macedonian ruler with religious approval. Trade expanded under Alexander's Mediterranean network effectively. Egypt became strategic link for empire-wide commerce. Ports flourished, bringing wealth and cultural exchange. Resources flowed to support broader Hellenistic ambitions. Military presence ensured control over rebellious regions. Garrisons maintained order along Nile Valley efficiently. Native uprisings were suppressed decisively and quickly. Stability allowed economic recovery and administrative reform. Egyptian administration continued under satrap system carefully. Greek governors implemented policies blending local traditions. Bureaucracy preserved continuity despite foreign oversight effectively. Pharaohs' legacy remained visible in cultural continuity. Alexander's conquest inspired future rulers like Ptolemy. Dynasty would combine Egyptian and Greek authority. Pharaohs' political symbolism persisted despite changing power. Culture and religion retained Egyptian identity firmly. Libraries and learning centers grew under Hellenistic influence. Knowledge from Egypt spread throughout the Mediterranean world. Alexandria became a beacon of science, art, and thought. Blending of civilizations enriched history permanently and profoundly. Alexander's arrival marked the end of independence. Egypt became part of a global empire. Pharaohs' direct power faded into historical memory. Legacy shifted from sovereignty to cultural influence subtly. Egypt fell under Roman domination finally. Pharaohs lost all political and military power. The Nile civilization became a Roman province. Ancient dynasties ended after thousands of years. Roman governors controlled administration and taxation strictly. Local rulers became figureheads with no authority. Military presence secured borders against rebellions efficiently. Economy and resources were redirected to Rome continuously. Trade thrived under Roman roads and ports. Grain shipments sustained empire's Mediterranean population. Egypt remained wealthy, but sovereignty was lost. Merchants operated under Roman supervision and regulation. Temples and cultural centers continued ritual practices. Religion persisted, but pharaohs were no longer worshipped. Priests maintained traditions amidst foreign political control. Faith preserved Egyptian identity through centuries of change. The Ptolemaic dynasty preceded Roman annexation briefly. Greek-Egyptian rulers ruled with limited power temporarily. Cleopatra sought alliances to retain autonomy fiercely. Political intrigue failed against Roman military dominance. Julius Caesar and later Augustus solidified control. Egypt became essential for Rome's grain supply. Nile lands were taxed heavily and monitored. Autonomy disappeared under imperial administration permanently. Roman infrastructure improved roads, canals, and cities. Urban planning and architecture reflected imperial authority. Cultural blending occurred between Roman and Egyptian societies. Temples, statues, and monuments adapted new influences. Egyptian identity persisted despite centuries of foreign rule. Language, religion, and art retained ancient characteristics. People remembered pharaohs and dynastic heritage fondly. History preserved memory of Nile civilization strongly. Roman Egypt became a provincial economic powerhouse. Wealth funded empire-wide projects and military campaigns. Agriculture, mining, and trade flourished under oversight. Economic significance surpassed political sovereignty completely. End of Pharaonic rule marked historic transformation. Ancient temples became ceremonial and cultural centers. Monuments stood witness to centuries of greatness. Civilization adapted, but never regained independent authority. Legacy of ancient Egypt influenced Roman and later worlds. Art, architecture, and religion inspired countless generations. Knowledge of medicine, astronomy, and engineering endured. Civilization's memory survived beyond political collapse permanently. The Nile remained lifeline of culture and identity. Rivers sustained agriculture, settlement, and daily life. Egyptian traditions continued along banks of Nile. Pharaoh's spirit lived through society and monuments. History remembers Egypt as cradle of civilization. Roman conquest ended independence, but not legacy. Empires rise and fall, but culture endures. Nile's civilization shaped humanity for eternity consistently. Egypt shaped writing, leaving lasting human knowledge. Hieroglyphs inspired languages across ancient civilizations. Symbols recorded faith, culture, and history. Knowledge traveled through time and geography endlessly. Architecture reflected genius, planning, and religious devotion. Pyramids, temples, and tombs amazed all generations. Stone monuments mirrored human ambition and skill. Designs influenced builders far beyond Nile Valley. Religion guided life, death, and societal order. Deities influenced philosophy, rituals, and governance. Faith connected rulers with divine authority. Culture intertwined spiritual belief and earthly power. Legacy survives in language, myth, and culture. Stories, proverbs, and traditions traveled worldwide. Egyptian influence shaped art, science, and law. Civilizations' ideas endure across centuries and continents. Monuments rise as eternal witnesses of greatness. Pyramids and temples defy time and decay. Stone giants speak of ambition and foresight. Architecture preserves memory of power and devotion. Lessons remain from an empire's thousand-year journey. Stability, innovation, and adaptation ensured survival long. Pharaohs' vision balanced faith, governance, and labor. History remembers how civilization thrived along Nile. Civilization faded politically, yet culture persisted firmly. Knowledge, art, and faith survived conquest and decay. Egypt's spirit continued in human memory and scholarship. Legacy proves that true influence transcends empire's fall. The Nile civilization remains a beacon eternally. Human achievement echoed through pyramids and texts. Every stone, scroll, and statue tells story. Past inspires present and guides future generations consistently. An empire gone, yet never truly lost. Memory preserved in art, architecture, and religion. Egypt endures through culture, history, and imagination. Civilization's greatness lives in hearts and minds.